It's my duty to please the booty.
And Muzz got mad at me, the coach said, he goes, Jesus Christ, why don't you just wear 2 9s? And I went, okay.
I'll switch the call.
Please never do that.
Yep. So...
What up, folks? Wit Dog here, and welcome to a very special episode with a very special guest. This is episode 520 of the Spittin Chiclets podcast. And before I get to our special guest and my co-host, Paul Biz Nasty Bissonette, I got to talk to you about Pink Whitney and this show being brought to you by New Amsterdam Vodka, Pink Whitney, and the big old bottle. And it ain't just about the big old bottle now. Now we got buckets of nips coming, and not those type of nips, Biz. Buckets of the shooters, just packed full, 20 of them with a big old bucket. And you know what it says in the bucket? Just add ice, baby, just add ice. And all of a sudden, you got the chilled nips, you got the chilled shooters, and you're ripping them down thanks to New Amsterdam. Look, she's showing it. Pink, look at those buckets. Just grabbing one of those buckets at the liquor store and heading to the party. Hey, you need me to bring anything? Yeah, just bring ice because I got buckets of Pink Whitney. So shout out New Amsterdam. Shout out Pink Whitney. Thank you so much for your support, everyone who drinks it. And please give it a shot if you haven't tried. Biz, we got Keith Yandle joining the show today.
Keith, how good has this guy gotten at those Pink Whitney ad reads off the hop? Holy shit.
I know. We were literally on the beach in Nantucket a couple weeks ago, and he did that ad read before we started drinking a few. Yeah, it was nice. It was good practice for him.
Oh,
yeah.
That's what I do. Before I crack open one, I just do an ad read to myself. It's all about repetition, Biz. You know the old 10,000 hours? 10,000 hours or something is how you master it. Well, I got 10,000 Pink Whitney nips in close, so I'm ready to really rock and roll today.
Yeah, I'm interested. So you've been hanging out quite a bit with Whit this summer, right?
Yeah, saw him a few times, which was nice. Not as much as I'd like to see him, but
Wait a minute, you guys are both on Nantucket and you're not seeing him a lot?
Yeah, but when I was there was a time Keith wasn't there, and then I wasn't even there that often. Like, I wasn't there that much. One time I was there, Keith had all his family there, his wife's family, then I had all my family, my wife's family. So we had connection time, Biz. We had time together. But with kids and families, it's hard to spend a lot of time together, Biz. You know, it's not like you and your buddies going for hikes up the mountains talking about life every day. We got responsibilities we can't just meditate through.
True. But yeah, when he was on island and when we both had some downtime, I was able to see him, which was nice. And then we got a couple days at the golf tournament at the Fallon Cup, the 85th, and then sadly saw him at our friend Billy Ryan and Mikey Ryan, John Ryan. Their dad passed away, so I got to see him there too. But yeah, obviously you'd like to see him every day, but that's not how the cookie crumbles.
Now, has there been a difference, or have you seen a difference in this man's golf game since he's had his third kid? Had you played golf with him this summer in Nantucket?
Are you trying to bring me down right now, Biz?
No, I'm just asking. I'm asking what the differences are.
The guy's an athlete. I mean, let's call a spade, right? He gets in the golf course. He's in his own mind. He forgets about the 3 kids. He loves them to death, but when he's on that golf course for 18 holes, it's Ryan and the ball and a couple Pink Whitneys.
So he's got Squanto who bullies him nonstop. Have you ever been bullied by one of your children the way that Squanto bullies him?
Every day.
Who?
Which one's the worst? They bully him.
Both of them.
Both of them?
Lola's probably the worst. But
Keith's telling me a story that, like, you know, usually I feel like the wives might bring the daughters to go like makeup shopping, and so Keith was in charge of bringing them to Sephora one day. I mean, talk about getting bullied, dude. This guy, he spent a 2-week paycheck in there.
Yeah. I bring it. One of their friends was with them too. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Fill the basket. They're like little things. I'm like, how much could this be? They're like $1,200. I'm like, all right.
Whoa,
and when you get to the register too, and you're too embarrassed to bring stuff back, so you just eat it. You're like, all right, fine.
Yeah, you don't want to seem like a peasant.
You can't be the guy that's like, oh, I can't afford this.
Like you with your Ed Hardy shirts back in the day.
So what else have you been doing with your off time this off season, Keith? What do you do in Nantucket? Are you getting bullied by Fudge Kid at the Fudge Shop? Have you even seen this kid that Whit talked about?
He might own like half the island by now. That was like 8 years ago. It feels like.
I stay clear of that kid. I don't want that smoke. But no, I try not to get bullied. I go incognito. Try not to get in any kerfuffles with any little rich kids from Nantucket. But no, we have our hockey camp in Nantucket. Me and my brother have a hockey camp. So we did that's a week long. So, giving back to the game. Brendan Lemieux came out this year to, show the kids a little something. He had shorts on, which was a crazy thing.
On the ice?
On the ice, had shorts on.
It's kind of like going into like the cold chamber. Keep the legs fresh, right?
Yeah.
What's the term I'm looking for here? It's not a hyperbaric chamber. That's for oxygen. There's
a cold tub?
When you go. No, but
cryo.
Before like cold tubs became a thing again. Yeah, cryotherapy. You go in there for like 2.5 minutes. You freeze your dick off. If you don't put something on your junk, like it might freeze your foresy off,
or your toes, I believe,
or your toes or your fingers. Yeah. Had you ever done that when you were training? You never did cryo. Oh, no. You did.
I did it after I was done playing hockey in Florida. I remember this was before the cold tub craze, and there was a place like there's actually tons of places that have probably been crushed by the cold tubs. But I'd go in there, 2.5 minutes, you feel great. I would kind of say it's the exact same feeling leaving a cold tub. Your inflammation's gone biz, and you're talking about your inflammation nonstop, and this is probably something that you really could use.
So I actually met with the naturopath today, and I got the results back from my blood test, and my testosterone's low, and like
low T.
Some of my
low T.
Low T. Yeah, I mean that's pretty common as you get older. But yes. I'm going to get on some stuff in order to raise that level up. But one of the aspects of the low T is the lack of recovery during the night. And that has been adding to the inflammation where it's not really helping me recover. I'm not sleeping properly. So I'm going to change a few things about my diet, get some supplementation, and hopefully I can avoid a lot of that inflammation that I deal with constantly, because I'm basically burning the candle at both ends. Like I'm back into training. I'm doing it twice a day. I actually been on 3 runs since we last talked. I did a 6.2K this morning and ran a 445 kilometer pace, which is pretty fucking good. Why'd you look at the screen like that, Keith?
I thought you meant mile. I was like, oh my God.
No. Yeah, my L5S1 would blow out if I try to go that
Biz,
fast.
you sent us a picture of you finishing up. I believe it was an 8 kilometer run. Maybe
that was a 9K. That took me just under 45 minutes.
Okay, so I did it out, and I think
I think so. No, I think it's 1.6 kilometers per mile. So if you want to rip off the quick math there, Keith, go ahead. But we're gonna stick with the kilometers because I'm in Vancouver.
I believe it averaged out to close to like an 8-minute, 30-second mile, because I kind of did a bunch of math after you sent that over. So I was wondering, was there elevation involved in it? Because I'm not chirping and it's very impressive, but 8:30 mile doesn't seem like that great to me.
Pretty good for 40.
I don't think that your math is correct on the hey,
okay, I think I might have messed up the math.
I think you fucked up the math. I would probably say that it was like a 6.5 minute mile.
Oh,
which do the fuck.
That's
let's
legit.
do the math on air here. I don't know. Like you guys are
gonna
Cornelli,
get
how
on
long
there.
Is this show? A 6.5 minute mile would be buzzing.
So
buzzing.
And I mean, that was one of the things I actually had in written down to talk to you guys about. Big Z doing that, what do you call it? The Ironman. So
10 hours, Biz.
10 hours straight.
I think
straight.
me and him retired on the same day. I've worked out. I've gotten like maybe 35 sweats, including sauna, steam room. This
and
guy's
basketball.
doing, my basketball league. But this guy is ripping off Ironmans and marathons. Like, we go out to dinners.
He's a fucking real estate agent too in his spare time. Like, what is this guy not doing? He's gonna he's gonna be like Warren Buffett in the real estate world. He's fucking doing Ironmans in his spare time. The guy's a machine.
David Goggins is done now. Z's taking over.
He's done.
I mean, it all goes back to when he played with a broken jaw and whatever the cup final game was. Like, he is a legit sick person in the best possible way. But to go in, as Keith said, like us going out to dinner on Nantucket is him doing an Ironman. I believe he's going to the World Championship qualifying of what was the last thing he did?
Of an Ironman. So now I think he's going to like a place where you can qualify, where if you finish in the best, whatever, let's say you're the top 20 or 25 at that certain qualifier, you end up going off to like the Worlds, where you're competing against people who are fucking doing these things like probably every couple months. Like you have to tap into your breathing and fitness and diet and sleep to such a level of where you're the top like 0.0001% of people on the planet. Like these,
and this is after a 20-year NHL career. It's not like the guy's been like
right. Yeah.
Oh man, good
I
for
don't
him.
know how he's healthy enough to do it.
I know his joints and stuff.
No, buddy,
being that big.
It legit has everything to do with his diet and his sleep and everything he's doing with his other spare time when he's not training. And it kind of goes back to what I was talking about. I'm trying to tap into that side, like to a minuscule amount where I want to do an Olympic triathlon. So I think that all these things that I'm doing is going to help me and propel me in the right direction. Now, going back to you, Jans, now that you're like retired and taking time off, you were like the fittest guy at training camp every year. What were you doing with Whit at the gym in order to show up and be the best in shape guy? Were you dialed into your diet and shit?
I don't think the diet was as big as it was back then. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me was, Kristen cooking and always getting home cooked meals and not eating out as much as maybe, a guy that was single in the summertime. So yeah, Whit.
But I had Reggie cooking me meals.
Yeah, true.
Who's Reggie?
Reggie Roach.
Reggie Roach.
He was Whit's turtle for 10 years. Like 10 years. It was.
He'd cook chicken fingers, healthy chicken fingers, on the grill. He'd cut them up nice and thin, steak tips, rice. I guess looking back, like we had a bunch of carbs, but I was getting home cooked meals from Reggie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really was.
But I will say, so the whole time when me and Whit were playing, we used to work out with this guy, Walter Norton, and we were talking about it the other day on the beach. He was insane. Our workouts were insane. And we didn't know any better, or I didn't know any better. So it was just like, all right, go and get tortured for an hour and a half by this guy. But it was like an hour and 10 minutes away from my house. So like driving, it was just brutal. And then after my year in New York, Hazy was like, oh, I work out in Foxborough with the Patriots guys and, Brian McDonough. So I went there. It was 20 minutes from my house. So I went there and I remember being like, oh my God, no one's working out as hard as we were. Like it was.
Biz, we were giving her.
It was insane.
Is that the place where you were fucking around one day and you got kicked out, Whit?
We both got kicked out, I think.
Yeah, I used to
actually
get
no.
kicked out
Keith
a lot.
wouldn't get kicked out. He just wouldn't show up like one day that he probably was gonna get kicked out. But then like one time he had us on these like it was like a board. Remember that board? It was like a board that would like
a balance board.
Twist. Yeah, but it wasn't a balance board. Biz.
Oh,
it was
the
like
Reebok one where you could do like you could twist it.
Yeah, so you could do fast hips and then like. I like pulled my pants down to make the guys laugh, so like my ass was hanging out, and then like Walter came around the corner. I was immediately kicked out of the gym.
Yeah.
It was immediate.
And then
that was like
Whit got kicked out for eating one of Walter's bars that he like the chocolate protein bars. Walter like had it in the fridge, couldn't wait to have it for lunch. He opened the fridge to have it. Whit had chocolate all over his face. He's like, "Where's my bar?" Whit gone. 2 days suspension.
2 days sussy. Hey,
yeah, sussy. I'm like, oh shucks.
Yeah,
Fids used to do the same thing. Like sometimes before games, like if the room was a little tense, he'd pull his pants down and he'd be doing crunches on the Bosu ball when you walked in. So you'd come in and his cock would be staring you right in the face. Yeah. Just nothing like a cock out to make the boys laugh, eh?
Quickly, Grinelli has chimed in on the private chat. Chat GPT says 9 kilometers is 5.59 miles. Biz did it in 44 minutes, 49 seconds. That would be an 8-minute mile. 8 minutes
Pretty
per
good,
mile.
Biz.
So your 6:30 was way off. And my 8:30 wasn't that far away.
Okay, can we do the calculations on a 28:30 6.2 kilometer run? What would I be running per mile on that?
Okay, there we go, G. Get back to Chat GPT.
I was pretty close saying that 9K is 6 miles.
Yeah, you were fucking bang on there. Jesus Christ. Maybe my math's
None of us were really correct, but we were all kind of close besides Biz.
Yeah.
And Biz, I should have mentioned right away. You hopped on and said, what is that jersey? It looks like the 84 Canada Cup, Gretzky to Lemieux, or 88. And boom. That is the new Big Deal Selects the jersey. Keith said the worst team ever assembled. But you guys look great. I don't know if you're going to play great, but that's a hell of a jersey. And Grinelli has the other one, the away jersey, I believe.
Oh, this is the tournament jersey. This is just for the participants. This isn't Biz. Biz got the special ones.
Yeah, we got the special one. Sponsored by
Okay.
Body Armor, of course. Shout out to one of our key sponsors. We're going to be drinking a lot of that at Chiclets Cup. I figured we need to go in a different direction. We're going back to Canada for the first time for Chiclets Cup. Why not pay homage to the greatest country in hockey in the history of the world? The Big
Men's
Deal
League
Select.
sweaters.
Men's League sweaters, they do an incredible job. They've been doing our jerseys since the start. So I don't know if you guys are watching on our YouTube channel. By the way, 351,000 subscribers, Whit. Not a big deal. So check that thing out, and that'll be handed out to our new squad. Now, you say that we've been shit in the past, but we have 4 new guys on our roster, Keith. Everybody's taking it very seriously. I've been getting weekly updates about Conman's health and where he's at as far as his fitness. I don't think he's running a 6.5 minute mile, but I would imagine he's up in my
Neither are you.
range around.
Yeah, or
Neither
8.
am I. So Conman, we're going to push forward here. And we're going to figure things out, and we're going to get in the best shape possible to shut that fucker Keith Yandle up.
I don't think being in shape has anything to do with you guys winning. Unless you got Noseface Killer and the rest of his team, you guys are done.
All right. Well, maybe you could put some money on that. We'll think about
My
a
question is that you
proposition
brought
about
in 4 new guys, and they've brought in new guys like Pender. There's some legit players you've brought in. Keith, these guys get so fucked up every night. So like the 4 new guys, it may be like 4 superstars in men's league and in ball hockey, but if they're crippled every night, it's going to be the same old song and dance from all the other Chiclets Cup. So I just wonder what happens. I'm very interested to find out, but at least you'll look fresh no matter what goes down this year.
We got a special hotel, the Holiday Inn, and it's basically turned into a baza. So nobody can leave when they're not playing. They go right to the hotel, they eat after the game, and then it's right to sleep. No cell phone, no television. We're there for fucking business.
Yeah, so just food
Fizz.
poisoning.
Just food, boy.
Biz, back to your low T. A little surprised to hear that, considering you are the horniest human alive. Does that not relate to testosterone?
So my natural path is a female, and I was going to ask that, but I don't have that type of like relationship or connection. I didn't want to drop the hey, well then why do I need to tug 3 off a day? Like that would be extremely uncomfortable, especially when I'm trying to get advice as to how to fix my low T. She did mention, like, based on my past and playing hockey, that low testosterone can be affiliated to a lot of concussions. And I said, yeah. So like over time, and especially as your life progresses, like those concussions can have effect in that, I guess in that category. So that was interesting to learn. So learning a lot. Like obviously I'm going there and she's dropping big words and I'm trying to ingest everything that she's telling me. I wish I had the types of like chemicals and supplements that I need to put in my body to tell people who might be suffering from the same thing. My advice to anybody listening would just be, go see a naturopath, get your blood drawn. It'll tell you what you're deficient in and they can help you out from there. And it can help in a lot of areas, including one of the most important ones, sleep, and what's happening to your body while you're sleeping. Like you might be sleeping, but you're not fully recovering to what your body needs, especially if you're a person who does like to train. And she goes, like, based on the way that your numbers look, you're burning the candle at both ends because you're not recovering as optimally as you should. Optimally. That might be the smartest thing I've ever said.
Well, it's probably wrong.
I think that was correct. It sounded good.
So good dismount too. Enough of my testosterone here. Anything else that has caught your eye throughout the time off, Yans? Like, I mean, the Olympics were on. What were you most impressed by? Any hockey news that's really sticking out to you? What are you doing this upcoming season? And are you going to be involved in the hockey world in any way?
Yeah, obviously trying to stay involved, do whatever I can to, stay involved in the game that, gave me so much. But yeah, nothing so far that I know of that's set in stone. Olympics were great. Love watching the Olympics, especially the summer. Winter's great too, but I love the Summer Olympics. Just the athletes, like the sprinters. I love the sprinting, and the gymnastics I love too. That Simone Biles is a freak, and just like amazing that we got to see her in her prime, and her doing it at, what is she, 26 years old or something like that?
Yeah, I think that was her fourth Olympics, which for gymnasts is just insane. Now, so I wasn't really that dialed in to the drama that was going on with women's gymnastics, but my understanding was that there was a former teammate, U.S. Olympic teammate of the girls team, and she was kind of like ripping on the other girls. So like Simone was like sending these like coded messages and Instagram posts firing back at her. Were you involved or did you see any of that shit?
No, I didn't see much of that.
Okay, all right.
No, I try
Did
not
you
try
Whit?
to stay away.
I was not involved with the deep inside beefs within the women's United States gymnastics team this year. I missed that one. I must have just kind of had my head in the sand a little bit.
Don't tell me that you're not invested in that. You fucking watch 16 and Pregnant. You're watching like what fucking shows are you watching now? Love Island.
Oh yeah,
like you love all the bullshit. So don't tell me you're not
trashiest
invested.
TV watcher in the world.
Love is Blind. Everything. Yeah.
What's the trashiest show you're watching right now?
Probably Love Island. That's some serious trash. But my favorite show right now is probably Below Deck. It's not that trashy. It's just great TV watching.
Below Deck, solid. I've always actually wanted to maybe do that where you rent a yacht. The prices are insane though.
Yeah.
And I don't know about being on a boat that long, but it does look like you could have a time if you're with like 5 couples you were close with, just ripping it up on a sick yacht. I mean, did you see that super yacht that sunk? I believe it was like the British Bill Gates. I think like
no. So here's the story. So
people were charged with homicide, I believe, in that.
Yeah, so I want to say that they sold like Hewlett Packard or some AI company that 2 of the main guys who were aware of some shady shit that was going down in order to bump their valuation so high. So the company was sold for about $13 billion. And then once they took over the company and the people who bought it started slowly discovering that they got fleeced, well, the 2 main guys who knew that they were doing the fleecing fucked with the wrong guys. So the first guy ends up dead. And then a week later, this guy's on a super yacht, like a mile off the coast. And then like some quote unquote natural disaster that if you have a boat that size or anyone in that area would have known about that would have been coming that way a day in advance, it all of a sudden just sunk their boat. There wasn't, and when I say a boat, I think it was a 300-foot yacht. Oh. Just boom, out of the middle, no debris, no nothing. And then obviously the guy and I think his daughter were missing. And you said since there's like there's been like a homicide. These guys got off.
That. I might be making that up.
Well, buddy, I'll tell you what, that boat didn't sink. Those people were off for ripping off the wrong people. And we were like, I saw like my buddy was filming me in on all this stuff. And then we saw the CBC news thing. And they're interviewing a guy after. He's like, "Oh yeah, I saw the natural disaster. I saw it take out the boat. It was crazy." Like, you could tell the guy was just lying his dick off. So this was like a hit that was out on these guys for ripping off probably some very very wealthy and influential people that know who they can call when they want somebody murked.
So I'm on CBS News. Prosecutors in Italy said Saturday they have opened an investigation into shipwreck and manslaughter after a super yacht capsized during a storm off the coast of Sicily, killing 7 people on board. Horrible story.
Okay,
but
so
we're only in the initial phase of the investigation. We can't exclude any sort of development at present. The main question investigators are focusing on is how a sailing vessel deemed unsinkable, so was the Titanic, by its manufacturer, Italian shipyard Perini Navi, sank while a nearby sailboat remained largely unscathed. So, Biz, yeah, I mean, maybe some conspiracy theory here, but I don't even know how we got on this. How did I just bring up the super yacht?
No idea.
Below
but
Deck.
Below Deck.
Yeah, below. Oh fuck, we really went off the rails. Another thing too is I met a girl recently who worked on this like crazy yacht, and it was for like this like Russian or Ukrainian billionaire that is like in hiding that like can't come off the yacht. These guys just have to live on these crazy boats because they've done so much evil, diabolical shit. Where these guys are like billionaire. These are the type of guy, so they have to sign like non-disclosure agreements, and these dudes just live on these ships nonstop because they can't. Obviously, if you're in the middle of the sea, you got your yacht and that's it. And rarely do they even come close to shore. So
how do they get food?
Well, they obviously ship it in for them.
Yeah, they bring it out on the boat.
They bring it out on a boat or helicopter or whatever they need to. It's wild.
Could be worse places to live.
Yeah,
that
but
girl,
it's just,
that girl really cared about the NDA telling Biz.
I know. Well, it's not like I'm going to say her name on here. I mean,
I'm
she's
the biggest
dead.
hockey.
She's going to end up like she's going to end up like that story on CBC. Yeah, I saw the whole thing. Crazy storm. what else did I ask you about? What about hockey news, Jans? What did you make of Steiner and diabolical Armstrong?
Yeah, honestly, the more I've been thinking about it, I don't understand why more teams don't do it, especially, and no offense to St. Louis. I know guys love playing there and love living there, but nowadays, if you're not, a team that, like Biz says, doesn't have state income taxes, like these teams that are tougher places to land, the big UFAs, and that guys want to go play there, I think you got to take advantage of that. And, I applaud those guys for doing it. They're making their team better. If you're a GM in this league and you're not doing things to make your team better and you're not able to get the free agents that you want or re-sign guys or guys are leaving, you got to do things like that. And, it's there for a reason. I'm surprised that more teams don't do it. I thought it was a smart move by him. Is it a slap in the face to the Oilers? Are they going to get their payback at some point? Probably. But, it's one of those things where you're trying to make your team better. You're trying to show your group of guys, your fan base, that you're in it to win it, and, bringing in good players that, went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year, lost Game 7. That's all that's doing is helping your team out. So I applaud those guys for doing it. If I was a GM, I'd probably do it, even though it's probably a little bit of one of those things that goes without saying you're not supposed to do, but I'm all for making your team better. And if I'm on that team, if I'm on the St. Louis Blues, I'm like, absolutely, let's do it. Let's bring in whoever we can, however we can get guys to help us win.
Didn't Doug Armstrong say that he would have done it to his mother?
I didn't see that quote. I didn't see that quote.
He goes, yeah, if this was the same situation, I would have done this to my wife or to my mother. This guy, yeah. I love it. I love that.
Well, it is thinking outside the box. And I know I was saying I wish they kind of matched both, but the more I've thought about it, it just really didn't make sense. I'm going to miss both players watching the Oilers because of how good they looked in the playoffs. Like, it was like seeing these young future, hopefully big time players for your team making these enormous leaps in the hardest games of the year. It's like, oh, wow, I can't wait for next year. See Holloway, Broberg. The Broberg money, now you look back, and I saw Stan Bowman's press conference. It was a straight up business decision. Broberg one, you couldn't sniff. You couldn't touch. It was too much. The Holloway one, it was a lower number. That's probably one you thought about a little bit harder. I guess in the end, it's too hard to do, right? If you're going to overpay those young guys that much, it totally goes against their entire philosophy of take a little bit less to stay here, which we've seen all these cup winners do in the past 15 years since the cap came around, specifically Pittsburgh. Those are the ones we always talk about, right? But You've seen other teams do that, and they're gonna need and hope that Leon and Connor don't completely try to break the bank. Now, they're gonna get plenty of money. They deserve as much money as they realistically want, but to compete in the NHL, you need everyone just take a little bit less. So how does it look if you're paying guys who are unproven, not unproven because they did do a lot in the playoffs, but paying guys salaries that they didn't necessarily deserve based on their career so far? So I think what's going to happen is it creates a lot of flexibility this season with the Oilers. So now all of a sudden, as they realize what they need throughout the year going into the deadline, they have the ability to add while also not having to put Kane on LTIR. Because if they did that and then he's healthy enough to come back, that's a shitstorm and a headache you don't even want to deal with. He doesn't have to go on that now. They lose these two key players. But this Emberson, I think it's Emberson from San Jose, apparently this kid is very, very highly regarded. And he can skate and he can play D. And like getting rid of CC, he could possibly replace him. I read something, I think it was Elliott who said if he doesn't play 50 games this year, he's a UFA next year. But by the sounds of it, Edmonton really likes him and he probably will play over 50 games. So it was a tough day as an Oilers fan to see two young guys leave. And if they go on to even lift their games to higher levels, it'll hurt in the future. But this year, it's like, this is a cup or bust year. I know it was the same last year for Edmonton, but they need flexibility to look in December, January, February. All right, we're lacking this. We need this. We can bring guys in because we didn't overpay these two youngsters.
So, I know why some people are going to be like, oh, fucking Oilers talk. But they're the only fucking team doing anything, and they went to the finals.
We got some other news. No,
and we'll get to it. Now, you say about this flexibility, the reason you say that is when you sign somebody or you match an offer sheet the Oilers would be forced. They can't trade him within the first year of that deal. So if the time came up at the end of the year where they could have maybe wanted to move off of Holloway to go get another piece, they wouldn't have been able to do it. So that's kind of the flexibility you're talking about here, right? Not only from a financial perspective, but also the fact that they are then locked in for that full year. I also heard read another thing. This could be complete bullshit, but the amount of games that they played by the end of the season, because these guys got called up and they played over a certain amount, meant that they were eligible to get offer sheets, where if they wouldn't have played those games, they wouldn't have played enough to been able to be given offer sheets.
Broberg specifically played the back-to-back games at the end of the year that didn't matter, and I think if he hadn't played in both of those, he wouldn't have been able to get offer sheeted.
So that is such as a GM nowadays, there's so many of these finicky rules. And remember, like, this is something that we read, which might not be true. I read it on Twitter. So chances are it's like 10% chance it is true. But if that's the case, it's just like, it's one of those other things that a GM, like, you have to be 10 steps ahead or have people like letting you know at all times. It goes back to when Talon, I think they fired somebody who was supposed to send out the offer sheets to everybody by a certain time, and that wasn't done. So they ended up losing all those guys, the qualifying offers. So just these little details that can end up fucking you over as an organization if you haven't addressed them. So I don't know.
I remember my rookie year, we played the Islanders at home in the 81st game, and then we flew right to Toronto, and we were playing Toronto last game of the season. Both teams out of the playoffs, and Sebastian Caron started the game. If Fleury had somehow upped his save percentage by like, say, 0.4%, something ridiculous, he would have had this huge bonus. It was over $1 million. And then Terrian put him into the game and he ended up getting the bonus by like coming in for relief in the 82nd game of the year, meaningless for both teams. So imagine, I'm guessing Terrian probably knew that. I would think he might know that, and he was hooking him up. Whereas if you're like the owner of the team, then I guess it was kind of Lemieux, right? I mean, who knows what actually happened, but they're probably like, what the fuck? But you see sometimes in the NFL too, where guys are like just throwing to a guy who needs 3 more receptions last game of the year. So there are things that GMs or owners could be like, make sure you don't do this or do this, that sometimes just fall through the cracks.
Yeah, and so have you ever seen somebody get a bonus because they got the coach got the heads up? Have you ever seen something like that?
I feel like I have. I'd have to think about it, but no, I just wanted to go back to the taking less money thing. Like, do you guys think it's? I think it's more on, the guys who are going to make, $10 million, the big boys, like, because the difference between $1 million and $2 million for, bottom 6 guy or 5'6" defenseman, that's huge. Like, when, if you look at it, if a guy's going to make $12 million and he takes a $10 million deal, like, obviously it's a big difference, right? So I think that kind of goes on those the big dogs a little more, like you said, like Sid did, Bergeron, guys like that who have kind of set the standard for that. But I'm trying to think of the bonus things. I remember back in the day they used to have like the games played. Remember, you'd have the games played for your rookie entry level. So yeah, I remember the coaches kind of being like, hey, you weren't going to play tonight, but you got your 15 game bonus to here's $250,000, thank you. Yeah, so,
which you don't even realize at the time. Like, you're like, holy shit, this comes in handy down the road. I mean, even some of the NFL bonuses end up being like, the number's not crazy because you're so used to these enormous contracts, and then you're like, fuck, you have $300,000. Like, no matter who you are, you're like, that is so nice that I just got that based on a quarterback throwing it to me or a coach putting me in. So I know this kind of went off the rails from the Oilers, but yeah, as an Oilers fan, it does suck. I think that Holloway, the one thing that's odd to me is, yes, I get taking more money, but had he stayed with the Oilers, like, you get a chance with probably some injuries because of their top 6, dude. Because of their top 6, he's starting on the 3rd or 4th line, but with some injuries, all of a sudden he's playing with Leon and Connor, and then the next deal, the numbers are that much higher as opposed to in St. Louis. Robert Thomas and Kyrou are great, but they're not gonna give you 10 tap-ins like the guys in Edmonton would. So that one's a little odd.
We talked about the PA and the agent probably being pissed, but from this organizational standpoint and getting to play with those guys and the fact that they are going to be a top 5 team in the league again, that's like non-negotiable. Like, we know they're going to be sick again. They got an unbelievable team. I think it's being short-sighted on both sides. Like Broberg, I mean, outside of Ekholm, like Broberg might even be the PP1 guy there. I guess Bouchard, excuse me. Bouchard would be number one.
But Broberg it's 4.58 for 2. Like that's a big bump, dude. That's a lot of dough. If he was going to get 1-2, it's that's hard.
But if you're a fucking D-man playing 22 minutes and you put up 50 points,
but he ain't getting 50 points because Bouchard, he could run the first power play in St. Louis. Krug's out for the whole year. He was never sniffing the first power play in Edmonton. So I get that one a little bit more.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, way more short-sighted for Holloway. All right, you bent me over in that argument. No spit. Ain't no spit, no loose sand pepper finish.
So we'll
anything
see.
Else?
We'll see if those guys kind of turn into what Oilers fans believe they could be. I mean, they're on a lot worse team now, but they're going to get a lot more minutes. So I think that's one thing in 2-3 years. You kind of see where those two guys are at, and you really judge the deal and Stan Bowman's decision then a little bit more. Before we go any further, guys, I need to talk to you about DraftKings. We had the appetizer last week, and now it's time to feast. College football is back. Don't miss any of the action. Jump in right now at DraftKings Sportsbook. It's a full slate of games for week 1, including the big matchup in Atlanta between the preseason number 1, my Georgia Bulldogs, and number 16, Clemson. It's a monster game down in Atlanta to start the season, and DraftKings is right there for you. It's super easy for the first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. This is going to be DraftKings' biggest college football season to date. Enjoy the ride now all the way through the expanded playoffs. We got 12 teams this year. And for all the newbies getting into the college spirit, here's something extra special. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with the DraftKings all college football all season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code Chiclets. That's code Chiclets for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only at DraftKings. The crown is yours. I was very interested other around the league, hopping around the league. And after our discussion last week, Askarov, I don't know how to say his name, the goaltending super prospect from the Nashville Predators gets traded to the San Jose Sharks. I believe that was a team I kind of mentioned just because it was a young up-and-coming team that didn't have like a number 1 goalie in their pipeline. Well, they got him. They immediately signed him to 2 years times $2 million contract. I think kind of a risky move. And a little bit more risky for San Jose. Some people may say I'm crazy because he's played pro hockey and he's played in the NHL. His numbers in the NHL, it was 2 games, were phenomenal this year. But San Jose, they traded to Nashville David Edstrom. So David Edstrom was the 32nd overall pick a couple years ago by Vegas. San Jose received him in the Hurdle trade, okay? What I've heard talking to a couple different scouts and reading some things online is not a future first-line center, maybe not even a second-line center, but what he sounds like, and he's Swedish, just like Patrick Berglund. You remember Patrick Berglund? This guy's about 6'3", 6'4". He's big, he's strong, he's defensively responsible. It sounds exactly like Berglund was. I think Berglund had 1 year around 50, 60 points. Other than that, 30 to 40, but could play PK, could kind of play up and down the lineup with injuries. So that's a guy where San Jose's looking at it like, we have our future third-line center. Now, they have Celebrini and they have Will Smith, so it's like we have 2 stud centers. We're kind of all set there, but they're sending back him. They sent back the first-round pick they got from Vegas, also in the Hurdle trade. It's top 10 protected, but those are 2 pretty legit pieces, along with a goalie, Magnus Corona. I guess that makes sense. If you're trading a goalie, you got to get one back for Milwaukee. And then San Jose receives Yaroslav Askarov, a 2025 third-round pick, and forward Nolan Burke. I don't know anything about Nolan Burke. Apologies for that. So, yes, you're getting your goalie who you think is going to be... You know
Sounds like he's from Boston. I don't know him.
I thought he was from Arlington. I was thinking of Nolan Boyk.
Yeah, that's him. Zaboyki. It's also too like you're going to San Jose, like the Askarov. You put up good numbers, you look good in your games in Nashville, but you're going to a bottom of the barrel team. You don't have Ryan McDonough, who's basically a goalie out there. Like it's going to be tough sledding for a couple of years. And, if you're a San Jose fan, you don't get down on this guy early. Like, there's going to be some tough times, right? But you're building for the future there, bringing in a stud goalie that you hope in the next, 5 years can get them back to where they used to be.
Yeah, we'll see what he's made of when he's getting 55 shots a night and they're getting fucking beat 7-1.
I know.
Now, I think a goalie prospect, young, I think he's 22, would actually be thrilled. Now, your numbers may be bad, but don't you think they'd want a ton of shots? Now, yeah, over the course of 82 games, who knows how many he plays. But, you're looking at it like, okay, I know I don't have Nashville's defense in front of me. I know I don't have a complete team in front of me, but I'm gonna have rubber coming at me all day. It's like Biz with the low T. And I think that if you look at that goalie and going to San Jose, he's like, all right, I'm not only in the NHL, but I'm going to have a huge workload. And so he's probably super excited. I know Mike Greer is because they traded for him and they gave up a lot for him. But Nashville, once you sign Saros to 8 years, now you get this big centerman that could be in the NHL in 2 years. Who knows? You get a first round pick. It's like, that's a great deal for Barry Trotz.
I love it.
Both sides.
I love it.
Both sides. Yeah, that could work out for both.
Maybe he'll whip some shape into the fucking D-man in San Jose, man. He seems like he's got a few screws loose. So, sometimes those Russian goalies, how many times did Brizgalov call you out, Jans, for your awful defense?
Holy shit, every game.
Did he call you out?
I heard Doug Murray's coming back too.
Oh, is he? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good boots on him.
Brizzy. It might have been one of those bonus games. There was 10 seconds left in the game. We were down by a touchdown. I wheeled the net, tried to go end to end, got stripped. They went down, got a shot on net, didn't even score. He chased me down the hallway. He's like, you try to fuck with my goals against. Nick Boynton had to legitimately jump on. I thought he was going to kill him. He was like, don't talk to him. So Brizzy ended up apologizing to me. He was great. I actually love Brizzy, but he was
I thought
nuts.
he was awesome. He was a silly bastard. Eh?
Remember when he told us he wasn't allowed to wear hair gel because his wife says he's too good looking when he has it in? We're no, you're not.
That's a lie. Oh fuck! Remember he had that. He loved high end fashion, and he would spend ridiculous amounts of money on clothing. And sometimes you were like, what?
Oh,
He remember when he bought that
leather jacket.
He bought that. Yeah, he had the greasiest leather jacket. It looked like a peeping Tom with it on, and then he bought a $5,000 cashmere turtleneck blue sweater, and it was a triple XL.
Yeah,
he was such a quirky guy. Oh my god!
We were playing in New York one game. I get a phone call from our GM. He's like, hey, do you know any goalies in New York? I'm like, yup. Call Brendan Byrne. Not a goalie, but I wanted my friend on the bench. I'm like, yeah, I got a guy. Call Brendan. I'm like, dude, get some equipment. We might need you as a backup tonight. Remember, Brizzy just left the team. We were in New York. Didn't tell anyone. Just got on a flight. Went back to Phoenix because his dog was sick.
No way, dude.
Oh, yeah, he had the sniffles.
Yeah. And then we had some kid from he was coaching high school hockey. I'll never forget. He had green pads on. We showed up on the bus, showed up into the locker room. He was fully dressed.
Ready to go.
Already ready.
Ready
2
to
hours
go,
before
buddy.
the game. I'm like, dude, we got some time here.
What you want?
He's like, I'm
what,
taking this all in.
You want to play a little soccer? Take it in a little bit more. Maybe get to know the guys. No, towel over the head, gear on. I think he thought he was playing.
Biz.
No, I think he thought he was playing.
Yeah, we tried to get him to take a penalty at the end of the game so he could get his name on the stat sheet, but he wouldn't.
Oh yeah, you got to start yelling at the ref or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I've told this one on the pod before. Remember how Donor used to play that catch game with La Barbara, and we were in Chicago.
Football?
No, on the ice.
Oh
in
my
warm-up.
God!
Do you remember the time
when
in
he
Chicago?
killed him?
Yeah, when he killed him. I'll let you tell the story. You're a better storyteller than I am.
So Smitty was taking his warm-ups, and it was at the end with the half moon, right?
Yeah.
And Barbs would sit off in the corner, and Donor would rip a couple pucks at him. He'd catch him, whatever, just keep him involved. Donor ripped one without him looking. He was looking right there, hit him right in the neck.
Clapper down.
And
everyone's like, what the fuck just happened? Oh,
dude, stretcher out, everything during warm-ups. We're like, oh my God. Brutus Lababa, done.
Stretcher
Done.
came out.
Because they would always make eye contact and but they were on the same clock, right? Donor would go to his spot. You know how us hockey players are. We're so superstitious. And I guess Donor had assumed that they'd made eye contact, and he just ripped a clap bomb, got him right in the side of the neck, and he dropped. And I was going to be a healthy scratch that night, and there was a possibility that I was going to have to put Barb's gear on to be the backup goalie.
It would have been incredible.
Oh fuck! I was praying for it to happen, but I think they had like an e-bug situation where somebody ended up coming down. But oh fuck!
Hey, speaking of stretchers, I sent this to me and Keith's friend group chat yesterday.
Oh my God!
This is from Super 70 Sports on Twitter. He says, whenever an NHL player suffered a serious injury during the 70s, you could rest assured medical personnel were always on site to provide the finest quality urgent care. Biz, look at how they're stretching this guy off.
Oh, I've seen that before. Face down.
They're holding his feet. He's on his stomach.
Hey, but think of how hurt you had to be in the 70s to get a stretcher to come out.
Hey, he was probably losing blood, and the guys were still chirping him after for not skating.
I know,
off.
guys are like, pussy. He's got his like fucking ear cut off, and they're still like, you needed a stretcher. And meanwhile, he's getting carried like a wheelbarrow.
No, I only used half of it.
I guess the only way these people see the clip is if they watch the YouTube. But where can they find that? 70s Sports?
Super 70 Sports. It's actually It's a great account. Twitter follower. It's got almost 800,000 followers. He just shows like, I guess his name's Ricky Cobb. He's got his own like podcast now, but it's just old pictures and like old highlights of not even just sports. It's funny.
So a lot of like crazy shit happening where there'd be like brawls and I just feel like the amount of drinking professional athletes were doing back in the day where they weren't being paid as much and it was kind of like a little bit more of a joke. That's where I think all these wacky and crazy stories would come from. Nowadays, everybody's just so regimented, and it's just like it's turned into such a business that these guys aren't going out after games getting ripped up, where these bar fights or these wild stories can even happen anymore. So that's the type. So, some of those stories that they're posting are just guys who are hungover and cranky, and next thing you know, melee ensues.
Guys would want to, if they were too hungover, they'd be like, all right, I'm taking a 10-minute here and getting thrown out of the game. Like, bring me the stretcher so I can put my face on it.
Yeah, it's hard to get in this bar on the road. I'm going to get a head start. I'll get the cover. I'll get the cover paid so you guys can just reel over. I'll get the table at the back.
They brought him right to the bar in that stretcher.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I watched the third period from here, boys. You guys are fucking buzzing out there. Here's some cold ones. What other hockey news has been going on?
Actually, relating to Barry Trotz, I guess this is sort of a good segue. Because this could affect Barry Trotz and the Nashville Predators, but the Philadelphia Flyers have announced that they threw Ryan Johansson on waivers, I believe it is. He cleared waivers after the Flyers announced that they're terminating his contract due to a material breach. He's 32 years old. He's got 1 season remaining and with an $8 million salary. Now, the thing that affects Nashville is that they're covering half of that. So they got a $4 million cap hit this year on him. Philly has the other 4, or maybe Colorado's in there too, because he was traded from Colorado, but basically what they're saying is he didn't miss a game, right, in Colorado, and he didn't even miss a practice, I believe. And then when he was traded over, he immediately couldn't play in Philly for either the Flyers or Lehigh Valley. Now, his agent, Kirk Overhart, has come out and said that this is a legitimate, serious hockey injury that he needs help with. He needs surgery. I don't know the exact surgery. Elliot Friedman mentioned on his column that I think there's some issue to do with a video that came out of him dancing at a wedding, maybe his wedding. I don't know. Now, it's kind of a wild story.
You're fucking with me. No.
That's what Elliot wrote, and I'm kind of like amazed at that part of it, because you could have a hockey injury that you need surgery on that could really affect you being able to play the game and still easily be able to cut a rug at a wedding. Like, you can't compare
he went full ray gun. He went full ray gun, and they're trying to take his dough away.
Who's Ray Gun?
I don't know what's going to happen.
Who the fuck is Ray Gun? The best dancer on the planet, buddy. You've been living under a rock. The Australian
the girl
lady.
From Australia. Yeah.
Ray Gun. Guan. Or Guan. How do you say it?
No, that's Jamaica.
That's Jamaican.
Oh.
That's like Sean Paul.
Oh, dossier. Dossier. So yeah, my understanding with is, okay, so I didn't know about the video, but since the end of the season when Johansson went and looked at it, it was obviously a lot worse than he had originally thought. So now he needs to miss some time. From the outside looking in, it might not look great at the fact that when he got to Philly, didn't they try to send him right down to the AHL right away? and he was kind of like Manute Bol, So it seems like a little bit of fuckery going on both sides, and they're trying to basically say, oh yeah, you want to fuck with us and go ray gun at the wedding and lie about your injury? We're taking your money away, bitch. And then now the PA's got to stand up and say, hey, you owners make enough money, give him some dough, and we can all move on here.
He has 60 days to file a grievance, which I'm sure he will. But it is odd that, like, if Philly was to call Colorado, they're like, well, he was playing for us, so I don't know what you want us to say, right? Like, that's where the other team can be like, we had no issues. Yeah, maybe he's like battling
he's like, I was hurt. Fucking Nate Dogg was making me put my gear on, that psychopath. I wasn't allowed to disclose any injuries there. He wouldn't even let me lead a fucking Snickers.
Yeah.
That's what was going on.
If you're out on IR, it doesn't go against the cap, and doesn't like the PA basically pay for that? Like the escrow money, isn't that what pays the guys' salaries, or is it still coming out of the owner's pockets?
I think it's the owner. Guys. I mean, when I was on the injured list constantly, I was still getting checks from the Penguins and the Oilers, and I don't know, but why it relates to Trotz is that if this contract is terminated, that opens up $4 million more for the Predators this year, who, after all these signings and all these moves they've made, the most exciting team in July 1st this year is the Predators. Yeah. They could have an extra $4 million. I think Trotz was quoted saying he's treating it as almost escrow, and he's not even like thinking of it until the entire thing's resolved. But if you make all the deals Nashville makes and then another $4 million pops up, they're laughing at that if that goes down.
That fucking same guy who ended up on that boat's going to end up at Johansson's summer pad fucking... $4 million on the books. This is convenient.
Yeah.
The red dot, Briz, with gel in his hair. Well, that'd be great for the Predators. I agree with you. One of the more exciting teams in free agency. Any other teams catch your eye? And we haven't mentioned our guest yet. We figured it was a good correlation, the fact that we got Charlie Coyle coming on, a Boston boy. You probably know him, Yans, and of course you. So we got a lot of Boston blood on this pod right now.
Yeah, it's great. That's why it's buzzing right now.
Yeah,
exactly. Other NHL news, and just going through this, is pretty big trade. I had a beef with a Spittin Chiclets post about this trade, but the Winnipeg Jets and the Pittsburgh Penguins pulled off what they call a prospect blockbuster, I guess. To Winnipeg was Brayden Yager, 14th pick overall in 2023. And to Pittsburgh, Rutger McGroarty, the 14th overall pick in 2022, who had played at Michigan the past 2 years and starred, who made it clear that he would not be going to Winnipeg. He was going back to Michigan. I don't really know what happened there. Nobody does besides himself and the Winnipeg Jets. But not often do you see two highly regarded prospects traded for one another before they've ever played a game. I laughed that the Chiclets Twitter said, who won the trade? It's like, nobody's played a game in the NHL. So I don't know how we're going to be grading winners right now. But I think it makes sense, considering that Pittsburgh needs some toughness, Biz. We've talked about how soft they can be and how soft they can look. I don't think Rutger McGroarty's a fighter by any means, but he's a power forward, gets in on the forechecks, can score around the net. I've been told not the greatest skater. I think maybe not the quickest boots, but gets the job done. Captain of the World Junior team that won gold medal this past year. And then Brayden Yager apparently skates phenomenal, and all of a sudden he's a Western Canadian boy who gets traded to the Jets. So I don't think that they're very similar prospects in how they play, where one's a very skilled, creative playmaker and McGroarty's more a go-to-the-net power forward. But Pittsburgh makes a good move in trying to just create a little bit of team toughness up front from a guy who can also score. So I can't say who won the deal because I don't even know that much about either guy, but it is uncommon to see two highly rated prospects, two first-round picks, never play a game and get traded for each other.
Okay, so was the guy who was traded to Pittsburgh, was he not like basically saying, I don't want to sign in Winnipeg?
Yes.
So these kids, they have way more ball. They might not be boozing or sniffing counters like they used to, but these kids have way bigger balls in the way that they talk to management. We got Askarov basically saying, send me down to the Myers Trots, fuck you, I ain't coming, I ain't going, and I'll go back to Russia. Now you got this first rounder. Why would he not sign with the Winnipeg Jets? What's wrong with Winnipeg? They have a great team.
I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Maybe partly had something to do with them not wanting him to come out yet, and like he wanted to come out after his freshman year. Grinelli's saying right now,
same
and they
with
said
Gauthier.
no.
So same with Gauthier, where they think that they should be signed at a certain time, burning a year off their contract, and if that doesn't happen, they say "fuck you, see you later." This is like, is this not
Couldn't
fucking
imagine.
a little? Is this a little crazy?
So
If
it's
you're a G-
crazy. It's crazy, but it's working for them. So it's like you can like chirp it, and as us three considered old school, even though we're not that old, but we're a little more old school than the current day game. You can chirp it and be like, dude, they drafted you, play for who drafted you, but all these kids that are doing it, it ends up working out for them. So it's not gonna change, I wouldn't think. You have case studies on how it works for some of these guys. So what's to stop the next guy from being like, I don't want to play for this team, or if this team doesn't let me turn pro after my freshman year, I'm done with them. Because you put them in such a bind. It's a first round pick. They're like, well, if this kid's going to say he's going to wait it out in college, or like you could go to Europe, you could just go sign in Europe, and you all of a sudden it's 4 years from your draft and your UFA, these teams are fucked. So it's hard to imagine like moving forward if GMs are having a kid come up to them and say, I want to turn pro this year. Like, well, if we don't say yes, this kid may request a trade, then we're fucked.
You know
It
what's
is
going to
crazy.
happen next?
What?
At the draft, these kids are going to walk up to the table after and be like, "Where's my contract, bitch?" That's what they're going to be
You know
doing.
how much I
at
would
that-
love if that happened for our show?
Yeah,
We could just
you know,
go nuts.
The one kid's like, "Oh, I'm the biggest steal in the draft." No, next guys are going to be like, I'm going to fucking put the ink to the paper now, bud. Get me my signing bonuses, everything top line, or I'm walking."
Like
That's what's
on
gonna
the
start
stage.
On the stage, grab the mic. This
But it's
thing
all,
on.
I mean, for Winnipeg too, right? Like if he stays 2 more years in college and then they lose him for nothing, he goes and signs wherever he wants, like Jimmy Vesey did, Hazy, Gilroy, like that college rule where, you know, if you stay 4 years, you can sign with whoever you want. So I think it's a smart move by Winnipeg, knowing that he didn't want to go there, and then you get a good young player that wants to be there.
But we'll see now. I mean, he hasn't signed yet. I'm guessing he will, obviously. But maybe he gets into camp and he's playing with Crosby. And then this kid's like, I won. Thank you. I don't know, though, Biz. That remains to be seen.
Well, he's got to make a decision, right? If he's going back to school, he can't go to camp if he's still in school, right?
No.
So
you can only go to the rookie camps.
Yeah.
And speaking of signing tickets early, the Seattle Kraken announced a major contract extension to Matty Beniers. He won the Rookie of the Year, I believe it was 2 years ago, had a monster season, and I think he would admit a sophomore slump type year that is so common in not just the NHL, but pro sports in general. They got him to a 7-year extension with a $7.14 million cap hit. So you lock up what you think will be your future first-line center. Now, Biz, this is one of those contracts that you've been very critical of in terms of why do you have to give him the monster long-term deal?
Well,
Why
I wouldn't say this one is as monstrous. It's a million less than the like typical 8 times 8.5 or whatever that number is. I think that they get that deal on him because of the off season he did have, and you know it goes back to the sophomore slump. I want to say he had 20 goals in his first year, Whit, and when we had Jack Michaels on, he talked a lot about Nugent Hopkins when he first got to the Edmonton Oilers and how he was getting lined up against all these beast first line, even second line centers of all these great Western Conference teams. Like he was having to go against Kopitar most nights, and then you got to go against the McDavids or the Draisaitl's and like the Sedins, and the list goes on and on and on with who the guys that Matty Beniers had to play against this year. And yeah, I think it ultimately affected his numbers. The team wasn't playing as well, but this is a guy, I love his motor. I love his 200-foot game. I feel like he's a committed, great team player, and I actually like this deal long term. I think you get that extra little discount on him because of the regression that he had last year, and I think moving forward, this is perfect. People might say I'm a bit of a hypocrite, but buddy, the guy won Rookie of the Year. I think he proved a little bit more than some of even these other guys who got 8.5 times 8. So I like this one. I think that this guy's got some dog in him, and I know that he's extremely well liked by the whole team in Seattle, and they got a great group of guys. So a good foundational piece with. And listen, You said their expectation, and I think that everybody in the organization would hope that this guy becomes a first line center who's getting 35 and 35 every year and plays an unreal 200-foot game like a Patrice Bergeron. But with this number for the amount of time, even if he's an unreal second line center, this number still makes a lot of sense. So I think it's a great deal for both sides, and I hope he exceeds the expectations of it, and then he'll get a nice little payday at the end of that. So a great deal for Matty and a great guy, and he's also a Boston guy, isn't he?
Yep.
Oh,
I think
wow.
he's from
Massachusetts.
But he, it's also too, he was their first ever draft pick, right?
Yeah,
Pretty
second
much
overall.
the face of the franchise.
Oh.
He's a guy there that you want him to be there forever, right? He's a first line player. I'm sure everyone in the city loves him. I know everyone on his team loves him. So that's one of those deals I think that, for Seattle, you have to lock up those guys, especially your young guys that have came up with that team. They're only 3 years old now, but I think it's a no-brainer for both parties there. And Matty's one of those kids, just from hearing in around the Boston area how hard he works in the summertime, how dedicated he is to his craft. Not one of those guys who is out every Thursday, Friday, Saturday like we were back in the day with, but it's definitely it's a big number, but I think he deserves all of it.
I like the deal because of the skating. Like, I have become so obsessed with having to be an elite skater, watching as much hockey as I do, that like I'm probably blinded by some of it, because like you look at Matthew Tkachuk, like he's not a great skater and he dominates. Okay. But I'm like, all right, I am deathly afraid of giving long-term huge deals to guys who do not skate like at an elite level. And that's what he does. And the best thing you said was that his rookie of the year season with 24 goals. Yes, this year he dropped back down to 15, but the team was so much worse. Like, their team was so good that year. They ended up beating Colorado in the first round. It was this awesome season, and he had more around him. And then this year it took a step back, so naturally he did. And the matchups, as you brought up, so I love all that you said, and I do like the deal, because I think in like 4 seasons, this guy making 7.14, you're going to be like, that's a bargain. That's a bargain. The guy can motor. The guy has offensive skill, and he's not making that much money.
You said the word like that to me, at least the times when I've watched him, I always like to refer to certain guys, especially with speed. He's got a good motor where you might see those speed bursts going on offense, but if the puck gets turned over, he's fucking going right back the other way. It's kind of like Marian Hossa. Like, his motor was like never ending, where he was just full octane the entire time. So that skating is definitely a big component, and happy for the guy.
Well, that's kind of what's really happening. I guess last thing before we send it over to Charlie Coyle is Cole Sillinger signed a 2-year extension with the Columbus Blue Jackets, $2.25 a year, I believe it is. So I think most well known for dating Tate McRae at one point.
That was a bag fumble. Oh my God, that's a bag fumble.
I saw she sold out MSG. She's a complete rocket launcher. This kid's a handsome fellow too, though. Makes sense. He's a stallion. I went on his Instagram. I was like, Jesus Christ, this kid's jack tan and handsome. Exact opposite of me. But I think a player who could maybe take a next step this season. He's got skill. Maybe a guy who Columbus shouldn't have had in the NHL, like as an 18-year-old. I don't know if that was necessarily like the play then, but a very young player, a lot in front of him, and a nice little 2-year deal to see, all right, buddy, rip it up these next 2, and maybe you get a little bit of a monster long-term contract. So I think now we are going to send it over to Charlie Coyle. This was recorded a while back, before even the playoffs, but an awesome guy, one of the hardest working people I've ever met. Talked to every local pro around the Boston area or a Boston Bruin player. Beloved by his teammates. Was at BU for a minute. We go into that. Went to the Quebec Junior League. He spent time with the Wild. There's a lot of cool stories, and we appreciate him coming on. So we'll go to Charlie Coyle right now. Before we continue, I am here to talk to you about Peter Millar, the best golf gear in the world. The shirts, it's all I wear. The shorts, incredible. And we need to chat about their new Vantage Light sneakers. They're incredible. The Vantage features beautiful full-grain leather crafted in Brazil by true artisans. For those of you who may be familiar with Peter Millar's Vantage lineup of sneakers already, this season's version has taken the same luxurious look and feel and reduced the weight by 40%. That's a lot. If I could reduce my weight by 40%, I'd be loving life. Making for an even more comfortable wearing experience. They look good, they feel good, and they're light. And if you're looking for clean, classic styles made from luxurious leathers, be sure to check out Peter Millar's Vantage Light sneaker. So they got the sneakers, they got the quarter zips, they got the golf shirts, they got the golf pants and shorts. They have everything you'd ever need to look and feel good while you're playing golf. Peter Millar's where it's at, and the new Vantage Light sneakers are absolutely phenomenal. So head on over to petermillar.com/chiclets to shop their entire collection. We had an amazing gift for this year's member guest at the golf club I play at, the Fallon Cup 85th annual. We had $250, and you just go to Peter Millar's website and you got to pick whatever you wanted. So an amazing move by the club to do that. Peter Millar is the best in the business. Once again, head on over to petermillar.com/chiclets and check out the new Vantage Light sneakers.
All right, it's time for a guest, though. I'm very happy to welcome this local lad to the show. The center from Weymouth, Mass. was taken 28th overall by San Jose, and he started his career at the Wild after trade. After 7 seasons in Mini, he was traded to his hometown Bruins, where he's currently enjoying his best ever offensive season. It's great to finally welcome to the Spittin Chiclets podcast, Charlie Coyle. How's it going, pal?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's going pretty good. I've been listening to you guys quite a bit lately, actually, so I love what you guys are doing, and I'm glad you guys had me on, so thank you.
Oh, what a nice guy. We even get an intro right back at us, you handsome bastard.
Just
He's only
loosening
being-
us up a
yeah.
little bit.
I think he's only being this nice because we call him a handsome bastard all the time on the podcast. I think yeah. Oh, well earned, buddy. And I think G was saying that you live in the same building as one of his buddies, and he said you're one of the nicest guy he runs into all the time. So you're just a class act, buddy, and we're super grateful that, especially just during this time of the year, that you're able to join us.
I got them all fooled, but I appreciate that.
Oh, man. So they have, like I said, your best offensive season ever. Is there anything you attribute that to, like one specific thing, a few different things, or what?
I don't think it's one thing. I think there's a lot of things that kind of go into it. I know the main one is, Bergeron, Krejci, those guys leave. There's an opportunity there. And then there's motivation there to try to come in and build on what I've been building my whole career. I've kind of been that third line guy, and a guy's been used around different lines when I was in Minnesota, playing every position. And I take a lot of pride at that. I love being versatile, but there's a time when you're like, all right, I want to step up my game. I want to be in one position and see what I can do. And so I've gotten that chance here this year. And it's not just me. I'm playing with some pretty good line mates and guys who can score and feed you the puck. You get open, all of a sudden the puck's on your stick. And that certainly helps too, playing with some pretty good players. And so I'm fortunate to be in the position I'm in, but I've been waiting for this for a long time, and I'm just trying to make the most of the opportunity that I've been given.
When camp started, did Monty maybe sit you down? And it wasn't just you with higher expectations. It was the team looking to kind of prove people wrong and say, like, hey, like, it doesn't matter. These two guys are gone, but we can still have a great team. Did he talk to you about how much bigger your role would be this season?
Yeah, he did. And I'm sure he talked to a few different guys, and Monty's pretty vocal like that, communicating. That's one of his strong suits. And we had a chat before the year started, I think before camp, and kind of sat down together. And he told me his expectations. I told him mine, and they were kind of on par of what each other expected out of myself. And I was happy to hear that. Those are the tough conversations you like to have, but just to know where you stand and what your coach thinks of you. And, you always have your own mindset of where you want to be and what you can do. But to have it on the same level as your coach heading into the season, that got me fired up even more. But I just said, hey, I'm ready for this opportunity. I've been looking forward to this. Everyone wants to play more, right? You want to up your minutes. You want to play power play, PK. You want to be a well-rounded player. You want to be a Patrice Bergeron. That's how I've always tried to play ever since I was little. Watching him when I was on Minnesota, and then getting to play with him, learn from him. Like, that's your hockey player right there, and that's what I've always strived to be. And not saying I can play like Patrice Bergeron, don't get me wrong, but you can take a lot from his game, all-around game, and that's what I want to do. I want to play in my, all situations and be a go-to guy. So there's added responsibility, and that's something I've been looking forward to. So I was glad to know that Monty's expectations of me were right there with mine.
You already had that foundation from like a defensive centerman standpoint. So you talk about Bergeron, like you had that, but now obviously the expectation to not only do that against top lines every night, but then also contribute offensively. Like how much from like a mental side did it take preparing from that meeting and then all season long to kind of get adjusted to that? You had put up pretty good numbers in Minnesota at one point. You had some pretty good seasons, but not like this year, and then not in that role going against those matchups night in, night out.
Yeah, the mental part of it is huge, and you learn that more. I think I'm in my 11th or 12th year of the league, and it's like you're still learning. It's and I think that's a good thing. But mentally, you try to get yourself right up there and try to bring it every night, and especially when you're getting added responsibility, that's something I've been trying to work on. And the game's so physical, but I think even more is mental, and you start to learn that. So I've just tried to do what I can do in that aspect. And like I said, we've had so many guys step up this year. I go down the list of everyone who stepped up and kind of helped out. So it's not just one guy, but I think I've always kind of been that defensive mind because I've been kind of that third line, and your job out there is to, not get scored on, but be a force, bring energy. So yeah, I already had that kind of going, and it's stuff you still want to work on. But bringing that offensive game too, that's a whole another level you want to get to. So you try to play the level of, and I hate to use the word risky, but solid defensively, but you go when you can, right? But being that centerman, like you got to be that valve, right? So you can't cheat on the puck, but a little more. I don't know what's a better word than.
I guess your anticipation, right? Because maybe before, as that third line center, you're like, no, I'm always going to be on the defensive side of the puck, and always make sure it's 100% out of the zone. Where you might have to take that few steps, anticipating that it's going to get there, where maybe it gets picked off, and you're not on the defensive side of the puck. So that kind of took maybe the getting used to. Yeah,
I think you're right. That's a good point there. The anticipation, and just a lot of times you just fall back and you're like, all right, they're going to get it out. They're going to go just in case something happens. I'm here, but it's like, no, go, and trust it and go play. So that's a little getting used to there. And cause you want to bring your defensive game with you and pick that up as well. But, Bergeron playing with us, Marshy and Pasta all those years, like he's been that valve, and they just know how to click together. Bergeron knows how to be that guy, but also go when he can and make plays and score big goals.
Do you think it makes a big difference in your role now, where maybe before it's like, I can't turn a puck over at the blue line because then I know like I'm going to hear about that, where a top line guy, the coach has to be willing for a guy to make a mistake when he's trying to make a special play. So like mentally you must be able to figure out and think, if I turn one over, it's not the end of the world as it would have been if I was centering the third or fourth line.
Yeah, there's definitely a balance there. And I guess the more responsibility you have and you're in the top six role, yeah, you got to produce. So you got to have you got to try to make plays, and I guess have a little longer leash, you hope anyways. If Monty's not yelling at you, probably Pasta or Marshy, but those guys have been unbelievable, and they get it too, right? And it's always a work in progress. You're always figuring things out, how to play with certain guys, when to dump it in or make that extra move to make that play to those guys, and so I'm still figuring that stuff out, but I always say work in progress, and but it's the balance of it, and I think that's the main thing.
Do you just have to mentally go back to your South Shore Kings days? Is that what you got to do? I read becoming on. Isn't that where you played Whit? Where you went to the
think you were in the EJHL with him, right?
Yeah.
It was like old. Like, what was your Metro team growing up?
So I was the Boston Junior Terriers and the Bay State Sharks, now the Bay State Breakers.
Okay, so he was a different South Shore Kings. It was a little older group.
I was ready to bring up.
If it's the Kings, I'm good.
All right, there you go.
I always heard though, before we met, and your reputation around the league, and especially with guys locally, is your work ethic is out of control. Your off-ice habits in the gym. Who instilled that in you? Was that something you kind of took on your own, or was it your dad or somebody growing up that kind of taught you, like, the way you go about things is very similar to like Crosby and McKinnon? And I was in the gym with you for one summer. It's very impressive to see you dial it in and train that hard.
I didn't have that till I got to EPS and started working out with you, Whit, and saw you.
You saw me, dude. You saw me on my treadmill walks.
You're moving pretty quick though for a good walk. No, I don't know. Maybe it's kind of instilled in you. I think my parents play a big role in that. They were hard workers, providing for our family, that whole thing. And they did it every day. And you saw that work ethic. And, you start hockey, and I always loved it from the start. My dad would coach me in youth hockey all the way up. He was a little harder on me, but very fair. Never really like push me, never over the top. I think I always wanted to get better. And I'd always be like, hey, what do I got to do? Should I go shoot more pucks? Go do this? Yeah, sure. Go do that. And he never really forced it, which was great. And you realize just like looking back now and understanding what the support system you've had. So I think it was my parents. I have two older sisters too. I'm the baby in the family, and they played sports. They were pretty good athletes in their day. And my one sister, Jess, who you know it, she's a trainer down at EPS in Foxborough, where I've worked out for 10, 12 years now, even longer maybe. She's always been an animal in the gym. My older sister too. And so it was just kind of in the family, I think. And I think along the way, you meet new people, and you see how hard it is to get to each level of hockey and what it takes. So I just always try to put my best foot forward and say, hey, if I want to make it, how many other kids around the league, around this Massachusetts, around the world are trying to be a professional hockey player? I got to put some time in. So I've always tried to have that mindset, and I don't know, you always think of the Tom Brady mindset too. Even then you're here, like there's always someone coming for your job, right? So you can never be satisfied, never be complacent. And I've always just tried to remember that and just keep putting in the work, because one day it's going to be over and you're going to wish you go back into the grind, and you'd say, hey, I wish I did that. I wish I'd done this. So I don't want to have any regrets as far as my work ethic, and hopefully it pays off.
We've been
Yeah. We've been going heavy on the Frozen Four chatter. Grinelli's got us really into the university game. Now, being a local kid, did you feel pressure that you had to go to BU? Why was BU the choice?
No, not really. No pressure. BU was always my top pick from when I was younger. My cousin Tony Monty played there. He was number 3 there, actually. And so when I was younger, I played Boston Junior Terriers. I was number 3. And kind of a funny story. I have my first email that I had was BUHockey03 at Comcast, right? So I had that when I was like 12 years old, because I played for the Boston Junior Terriers. And then when I got older, BU was the first school to talk to me. That was that was tops in my book. So I pretty much committed right away. And I remember going into the Jack Parker's office, and they're like, all right, well, here's what we're offering you or whatever. And can we get your email just to send you some stuff? And I'm like, yeah. Like, what's your email? Told them, they were like, oh, we got this guy. We got him.
We don't even need to do any other work.
No. Yeah. I gave it away right then and there.
Hide that duffel bag full of money. I don't think we're going to need this one, guys.
I've always wanted to go there. And that was the top school in my mind since I was, 10, 12 years old. And so I've always wanted to be there.
When you were there, actually, your sophomore year, you ended up leaving for the Quebec League. I didn't know the backstory behind that. Maybe you just wanted to play a little more offensive style. And can you kind of take us through that, because it worked out for you?
Yeah, that's the hardest decision I've ever had to make. And I'll talk about it. I hate even talking about, it just,
I'm sure Parker took it well.
Oh, God.
Yeah, beautifully. That was a toughie. Like, you never want to leave your team during the year, and you feel like a real asshole doing it. And it sucked, because I take pride in my character and all that. And it's like, it stunk. But anyways, I was drafted by San Jose, traded to Minnesota the next year's draft. So I'm still in college at the time. And the GM Chuck Fletcher at the time kind of talked to my agents and halfway through and said, hey, like, you're going to turn pro next year. Why don't you go work on your offensive game? play more games, more of a NHL type schedule, and because we're going to sign you next year. So it's like, I never thought about playing major junior, never wanted to, was always college. But then it's like your future boss is kind of telling you your path here. And if I don't do that and things don't work out, and then, he's kind of like, hey, I told you what to do. So that was a tough one. And St. John had talked to my agents, and I'm like, how do I convince my parents here if like this is what I want to do? Like my parents, my mom, dad are all like, hey, school, right? And something to fall back on, which we've always been about. And I just remember meeting with my agents, my parents, and St. John, the coaches there, Gerard Gallant, Mike Kelly, and I remember my mom just coming out of nowhere and be like, yeah, I think this is a great move. And and I'm like, holy, really?
Wow.
Like,
Yes.
Right then and there, I was like, I guess I'm going. And but it was so hard. And I just, you're leaving your friends and your buddies and the team halfway through the year. But I guess to my defense, it was me, because I think like a week later after I left, BU went to like number 1 in the nation, I'm pretty sure. And I was like, well, there it is right there, the cancer.
Hey, but like, so you ended up going over. Did you find that it did what they expected it to do, from like elevating your offensive play and getting more reps? Because I noticed that you didn't play many regular season games, but you guys ended up going on a run in playoffs, which, as we all know, you go to the Frozen Four, you get one game, one game here, one game there, where these are 7-game series. So did you find it had the impact on your career that you guys had hoped?
Yeah, I think it did. I mean, they're two different leagues, and they're both great leagues. Don't get me wrong. I can't talk crap about either one. They're both can probably get you to where you want to be. It just, everyone's got their own path, right? So I don't know. At school, I think I was under a point per game at school. St. John, I was over playoffs. I think I was 2 points a game. So it's a different league. It's the way we played was much more defensive at BU, and our style of play up in Quebec, you're making more plays. You're trying that extra pass, and I really got some confidence playing up there and finding my offensive talent a little more. And I think that it definitely helped. And it's hard to say. If I stayed at BU, where would I be now? Like, you don't know. But I know the path I took. I'm happy. I stayed with some awesome billets up there, the Korsgaden family, and they took me in. I was only there for like 5 months, and these people are like my family still. They come down for trips in Boston and visit, and I'm sending a picture of my daughter every day. Like, so just that in itself, to meet people like that and what they did for me and my family, it was like, that says it all. And that solidifies the move in my head. Like, that was the right play.
Well, Charlie, what was the biggest difference between the two outside of the school aspect?
Being in St. John, I mean, the no school thing was awesome. I mean, just to focus on hockey. Like when I was at BU, you got to keep your studies up. Like, everyone knows that and all that. But I just, you're thinking one thing, and I want to get to that next level. I want to do everything I can to play pro hockey. And going up to St. John was just, it was that. Like, it was, I was focused on hockey, and wasn't up studying late at night, and I was just watching game film and getting ready for the game, right? So like that, I was thriving. I was right where I wanted to be, and I loved it. And just being with a billet family was pretty cool. I had three younger siblings up there, and I was the youngest of my family. So to have those little kids playing mini hockey every day, street hockey, like video games with them, it was awesome, and I loved every minute of it.
And you got to play with Huberdeau, and you said Gerard Gallant was your coach there, so you got to play with some and be around some great hockey minds.
Yeah, Huberdeau was the man up there. They won the Memorial Cup the year before, and then going up, like, you knew he was the man. He was our best player, so got to play with him a bit. That certainly helped the offensive game. They'll put the puck in your stick from anywhere. But yeah, and then Gerard Gallant, Mike Kelly, I loved them. I think they were awesome coaches. They are awesome coaches. I've always said after that I would love to play for him again. But they did a lot in a short period of time for me, and just kind of learning from them. And we had a great team, so it's, but they certainly tied it all together and let us go play hockey and made it fun.
And then it was off to sign a contract and play pro. And you didn't play in the A very long, and then it was off to Minnesota. Did you start that next season in Houston?
Yeah, so next year was the lockout. So we had a pretty good good group of young guys, and we had me, Granlund, I think Zucker, Darcy Kemper, Jonas Brodin, all these guys kind of coming up together, and it was looking back, it was a good next step instead of going from major junior right to pro. That next step to the AHL, and AHL was a good league then. I remember Edmonton's farm team had
my God, those three. Hall, Schultz, and Everly had like 100 points.
Yeah, we played them a lot there too, so we got a good taste of those guys. And but I think I played just over 40 games, and you're always hoping once that league came back and to get that call up, and finally did. But I think it was a good first step to be in the AHL and get a taste of the pro game and what it's like and kind of that schedule. So I'm happy I got to do it, because everyone makes fun of you, right? Like everyone's always like, you didn't play in the AHL, you just got the road rights to the NHL. But like, no, I played some games, so I did my time there.
Yeah.
How was Houston as a city? Because people have mentioned that as a possibility someday of expansion. Like, you think NHL could work there?
It's hard for me to really say.
That's a no.
That's a no. No. A lot of chain restaurants, I heard.
Yeah, I didn't venture out too much. I was kind of a homebody then, and I didn't go out a whole lot. So I didn't really do too much exploring. I mean, the weather was great down there. We had a pretty good fan base, so I can't say anything bad about it. But tough to really say if things could work, and so I'm not the guy to ask for that.
Charlie, when you left BU, did you get any blowback from teammates or locals or whatever, like giving you shit for it?
Yeah, I mean, teammates, not really. I'm sure in their heads, yeah, nothing like too crazy. I mean, it was kind of warranted, I think, because it was just a weird situation. But yeah, it was kind of a tough time. I mean, right before I decided to leave, let's say I made the decision on like a Tuesday, right? And we were off, I think, for our Christmas break. And I called Jack Parker's office and they said, hey, come in Thursday for a meeting and we'll talk then. I'm like, all right. So it was Tuesday. Wednesday comes around. He calls in a surprise meeting. And at that time, I'm our second line center. And he calls everyone in. He goes, hey, someone just got kicked off the team as our first line center at the time. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my God. No way.
I'm already out the door, but no one knows that.
Oh.
And so just that too. And I'm like, of course this happens. And it was just a tough thing to go tell him the next day, like, hey, I'm out of here too. And
for anyone who doesn't know, Jack Parker is an intimidating, old school, legendary
Didn't
coach.
he grab you by the cage and like swear at you?
Oh, yeah, he grabbed me by the cage one time. This guy's a legend. And going into, I can't imagine telling him that I was leaving. Like, you must have been shaking in your boots, dude.
I still shake telling the story. I get the pit stains going right now. He's gonna be watching this, and but it was, so that made it even worse. But like I said, they went to one nation, I think, like a week after that, and then I think they kind of came back to earth a little bit. But
they lost their 2 first center, much like the Bees did. But what happened with the guy who was the first line center? Are you allowed to even say, like, did he get kicked off for like a bad, like, what happened? I mean, we just had Vetrano on, and he said he got caught cheating on his SATs, so he wasn't even allowed in school.
I don't think it was a school. I think it was something that it was kind of his last straw, and it was something outside of school. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't leave it at that.
Yeah,
he was a pretty good player. Not gonna drop his name.
Did he make it to the show?
Player. No.
I don't think he ever did. No.
Well, we kind of like to go in this timeline, and then it was off to Minnesota, where you had a heck of a career in itself before you got to Boston. Like, who were your influences there? Who were the guys who took you under your wing? And I'm sure you had a great experience there, because as you could see, the numbers just kept progressing, and you became more of a prevalent player in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, I think it's tough coming in. You're a young guy, but like I said, we kind of had that group come up together, which helped and made you feel a little more comfortable. But Mikko Koivu right off the bat, Zach Parise, those guys, Ryan Suter, they were our three guns, right? And just learn from them. Mikko Koivu is a great two-way player, so kind of learn his game, how he goes about things. He's so professional in the way he is, just the little things. I remember shaking his hand. He always shake your hand, look you right in the eye, like he's laser focused right into you. Always kept that in my head whenever you meet someone. So little things like that, just how to be professional, how to be a good person and a good teammate. We had Matt Cullen, who I always say was one of my favorite teammates, just the nicest guy in the world, and was an older guy at the time, but had time for everyone and just was so relaxed and easy to talk to. I'm going to forget guys too, but we had a pretty good group there and we're always kind of that middle tier, but always found a way to make playoffs and be in the running and try to make a run, but it never worked out fully. But we always have to claw our way, and I think there's something to be said for that and to take that with you and have that mindset.
How about the fan base there, though? It's like when Wild games get buzzing, like especially now, Kaprizov and Boldy, and you see Zuccarello, like it's just a crazy arena. They're loud. They love their team. You must have really enjoyed playing there for a first stop in the NHL. You can't beat that.
Right. I miss it so much. I didn't know much about Minnesota going in. They called it the state of hockey. I never knew really why. And then you get there and like, this is awesome. So I feel pretty fortunate to play in a market like that. And of course here in Boston now, and they're similar in different ways. Like they sell out here in Boston. But it's like the fans there, it's funny. Like it'll be quiet
nice.
Sometimes. Oh, they're the nicest people in the world. It's crazy. They're too nice, but it's like they sit there and the game will get quiet sometimes when you're playing, but it's like they're just analyzing it and like they're watching, like they're into it, right? So like they're just quiet. Playoff time comes, they're loud, it's awesome, it's a great atmosphere. Boston is just like everyone's drunk, everyone's got the beers going, and they're just
they're puking on people and stuff.
Yeah, it's so
I took that personally.
Yeah. All right, he's the front runner right there. That's
but I love it. Like there's nothing like it. But Minnesota was so cool. I mean, you guys know the high school tournament there too. Is like I played in the high school tournament here at the Garden. We sold out the whole lower bowl, and it was unbelievable. We thought that was it. You go out there, they get more fans than the Wild do every game for every high school game there. It's insane, and there's nothing like it. So I love being able to say that I played there, and I really do miss it.
It's probably a party who wishes that they had more success there because you played there for so long, and they do deserve more. They've been there too long, and they haven't had much success.
Yeah, no, 100%. We were never able to kind of get over that hump. We made playoffs every year. It was just second round maybe once or twice. I feel like the Hawks, we always ran into the Hawks and they were hot. They always, it was like they were the ones who always kind of gave it to us, and then we'd see them win the cup. So it was like, all right, we lost to the cup champs, But yeah, we just weren't able to get over that hump, and but having that playoff experience, like that's something to be said. You carry that with you. But it's tough, man. Like we're never fully to get there, but like I'm glad the time I had. I loved it. I learned so much, and when you don't win, it makes you want it that much more.
Were you shocked when you ended up getting traded? Was that something that was requested, or were you blindsided by it?
No, I was always in trade rooms every year. It seemed like, so I was always kind of like nervous, and then that year was probably like the best mentally I ever was. Like, I think I'm all right. Whatever, whatever happens.
Of course, let your guard down.
Of course, that's when it happens. But I remember we were supposed to go on the road. I think we were going to New York City, and I had an appointment somewhere before the flight, so I get my stuff ready. I'm in my suit and tie, whatever, and flight apparel, and I go to my appointment. I get out, and I have a missed call and a text from the GM. So I'm like, well, here it is. And I called him back, and he's like, hey, we're trading you. I can't tell you where though, just because it's not final or whatever the deal was, and because I just don't want you to go on the flight to New York when they come back and all that. So I was like, I appreciate that, but
where am I going?
So I go back home. My girlfriend's there. She was just about to move in with me for the first time. And so, she's crying, all this. Where are you going? I don't know. So now I become a fan. I go on Twitter. I'm refreshing Twitter. I got the network on. I'm texting buddies, parents, agents, all that. Like,
was it deadline day?
No, it wasn't that crazy. Okay. But in my mind, it was that crazy. But no, I think it was a week before, a week or two. So I'm just trying to get and you see, everyone's starting to throw rumors out there, and you see certain teams, and then finally, like, you see someone say Boston. I'm like, oh my God. But that was the one thing our GM told me. When he called me, he said, I can't tell you where, but you're going to be okay with it. And I'm like, all right, so it's a playoff contender, right? Like, it's a team going for it. And I don't want to get my hopes up that it was Boston, but I was like crossing my fingers, like, let's go, come on. So it eventually worked out. I saw some rumors, some reliable sources, and finally got the call from Paul Fenton, who was our GM for Minnesota, and then got the call from Sweeney. And so I was so pumped up. And then I think the Bruins were playing that night in Vegas, and Bergeron and Chara called me, and that was so cool because I kind of grew up watching these guys a little bit when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, and to have them talking to them, I was beyond nervous, but so excited to join them. And it was kind of funny too. They're in Vegas, they're on the West Coast trip, and they were staying there for a few nights. So Sweeney called me. He's like, "Hey, you can go meet these guys in Vegas. They're having their rookie party, or you can meet them after." Pretty easy decision there. I walked to the rookie party meeting.
Imagine you said no.
Your girl's crying even more.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we're moving. Now you're going to Vegas.
Yeah. It was all coming down, but it was awesome. And it's a perfect setting to meet the team. I knew a couple of guys. Wags was there. Toy Crew, Charlie McAvoy, met them maybe once or twice. Grizzly, but to meet the team in that setting, just kind of everyone's having a couple, and you kind of have some fun. It was perfect.
Now, your girlfriend at the time, is that the one you ended up marrying and you just had a kid with?
Yeah, that's my wife now. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations, man. That's awesome. Hey, she was battle tested early.
Oh, yeah, she was. That's how I knew she was in for the long haul and she was ready for it.
Is she from Boston?
She's from Minnesota. So I met her up there the last year I was there, and then we were set to move in, and then I got dealt. So then a few months later, she came and met me in Boston, and we're going strong ever since.
Hey, let's see the pooch. I can hear him breathing in the mic.
Yeah, so I got two here. One's here. Come here, Grace. Come here, go. I got Gracie here.
Oh, I love Golden.
And then we got another guy here. We got Bodie. So I got two here.
Oh,
actually, I was going to ask you about Darla, Forbert's dog. Unfortunately, it passed, right? Like Darla was like everybody loved Darla. It was kind of like the original Miss Peaches.
Yeah, I think she's the most beloved dog in the NHL. Like people love her, and Forbes does such a great job with her. And he brought her in a few weeks ago. First time I met her in the training room, seeing her hobble around. She looked great, and then it was probably that week, and so sad. Like that you think about that stuff from time to time when you're gonna have to put these guys down. You're like, oh my God, that's gonna be such a sad day. But Forbes gave her a great life, man. Like, and you can only be happy and proud of that. So hats off to Forbes for that. But
fucking right. It's a couple of clicks for Forbes, man. Forbes is the man.
He's a piece of work,
him.
Huh?
The guys must love him in the locker room. I loved playing with Forbes. He's a
best.
treat.
He's so funny and just like dry humor and keeps it light. And he's had a tough year this year with injury wise. Like people don't know what he was playing through when he was able to play. And he's a heck of a guy, heck of a teammate, and never complains. And he's had a tough year. And then on top of it, the Darla thing too. Like that's people don't understand that, I don't think. But he does it. Comes to the rink, smiles, and it's like nothing happened.
We should pump some shirts out. Maybe make your playoff motto. Do it for Darla.
I like
That's
it.
a good little motto, isn't it? That gets me fired up. What do you think, Whitty?
I just think you might have made a couple bucks for yourself right there, Biz.
Do it like Miss Pete.
Yeah, all to charity.
All to charity. All to the kennels.
All to dog charities. But yeah, Forbes is the man. I was going to ask you get traded to Boston. So exciting being a local kid, but there's also a side of it. It's hard playing where you grew up, right? The pressures are a little different. Not just pressures for getting people tickets and seeing people off the ice, but actually to perform. It's almost like the fans are a little bit harder on the local guys. And I had this conversation recently with a buddy. You're approaching probably top 3 and could end up being one of the best local Massachusetts players to ever play for the Bruins. You got Bill Guerin, you got Hal Gill, there's others that go on, but has that been tough for you at times? Because it really hasn't seemed that way at all.
There's time to time you think about stuff like that, but I think it was a good time where if I was playing for the Bees early on when I was early 20s, maybe it's a little different. I mature a little bit. I go away from home, kind of learn the life of the NHL, and come back home, and I'm 26, 27, however old I was when I came, and I think I'm better off in that way. So I'm pretty happy the way it's worked out like that, where I am, a little older and mature and can handle these things a little bit better.
Yeah.
And you talk to guys too, like Chris Wagner was here when I came at Grizzly, and I'm like, those guys can do it, and you get little tips from them and how to go about things ticket wise and the extra stuff. But I have a pretty good support system here in my family, and I have a big family, a lot of cousins and things like that. So you think the ticket thing is a big deal, and it can be, but it's usually not from your family and close friends. Like, those people know. It's the people who you kind of went to high school with, or you didn't want to give your number to them, but they have your number and they're texting you. Like, that's what it is. But I love playing at home. I wouldn't change it for anything. I love being here, and I think those little pressures are so worth it. And as long as you kind of keep a level head and you get the support system with you to keep you humble and all that stuff, like I love it.
And stay off Twitter.
Yeah. Twitter can be a beast. I should probably shut that off.
So you're on there. You're pretty.
I mean,
well, this year's a fun year to be on it for you.
Yeah.
It's the down years. You're like, this isn't so fun anymore.
Yeah, but it's like every day can be different. You have a bad game, you're the worst player in the world. Like, you guys know how it is.
Yeah.
So it's not worth it to get people's opinions. That's why it's good, but it's bad. People have their opinions about everything, and they think they have to share them all. It's like, come on.
Yeah. No repercussions.
So I'm a moron. I had you guys missing playoffs last year. You guys win the President's Trophy. I wasn't going to make that mistake again, and I think it all comes down to the culture that has been created in Boston with the Bruins. What was it like coming into that locker room? You did mention Chara and Bergeron reaching out to you, but just like, what is it like every day showing up to that rink? Like, people want to know behind the scenes, like what is it like going in there with all those legends around and just what you guys have been able to establish?
It's awesome. When I was in Minnesota, you hear about what it's like in there, the outside perspective and how these guys are, but you don't really fully know until you're in there and you're like, this is legit. And the Bruins are so lucky to have the captains and leadership they've had over the years with Char and Bergeron. Like, those are the big names, and for a good reason. But other guys too. I mean, Brad Marchand now is our captain. That's for very good reason, and the way he's learned from those guys. And it's just a trickle down effect. And it's one thing to trickle down, but then you got to keep that culture going. And everyone's been able to do that in their own way. And I think that's why Brad Marchand has been such a great captain for us this year. He's learned, he's been there, and he knows. And no one's perfect. Like, all those guys have made mistakes. We all make mistakes, whatever. But it's just there's no rookies. Everyone's treated equal, and it's kind of like, the old style of being in the NHL and the old, older guys, younger guys, and kind of, there's some. It's not in there as much, and I think Chara was really big on that. Like, just one little stupid story I always think about it, and it's very minor, but I remember being traded in there, and it's like my first month in there, and I think it was after practice. We're getting lunch at the, in our meal room, and Chara was in there, and I'm in there, and Cassidy, the time comes in, he's like, "Hey, Big Z, you want practice tomorrow? What time? Do you want it at this time or this time? What do you want?" I'm just kind of listening and get my food, and Chara was like, and he turns to me, he goes, "Charlie, what do you think?" And I kind of laughed, and I'm like, and he was like, he was dead serious. He wanted to know what I thought about what time practice would be. This guy's a captain. He's 40 years old, and he wants to know my input on it. And it sounds stupid, but it's such a big deal. And it's just that little stuff compounds over and over. And that's how he treated everyone. And then, you got Bergeron too, just so invested in everyone and asking how they're doing. You're not just going by a guy in the locker room. "Hey, how you doing?" "Hey, good. How are you?" "Good." That was it. Like, Bergeron, "Hey, how you doing?" "Good." Like, no. Like, how is it going? Like, tell me. And he sit there and talk to you. And you're like, what is
he
that?
really cares. Yeah. You can tell he really actually cares.
And he cares about everyone. And so I think it's just that part of it too, the off ice stuff. And you know that these older guys care about you, whether you're 40 years old or 20 or 18 years old coming in, like, everyone plays a part. Everyone is so important. And we make that known with each other.
Chara hit him with "it doesn't matter what time you think it should be." The Rock just comes in over the top. Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone saw the hug between Marchand and Bergeron after that gutting loss against Florida. Did he say anything in the locker room? That pretty much showed that he was done, but everyone was just holding out hope. But did you know even before it was announced that was probably it?
Not like. I mean, I think we all kind of assumed, and the writing was kind of on the wall there, and that was kind of where he was leaning towards. But even that even after the game, even that summer, like you were just holding on to that little piece of hope that he would say, hey, I'm coming back. I got the itch. I'm coming back. So it's hard to really tell you when I knew he was done, whether he said it or not. It was like, I don't know. He might, I don't think we get the 100th year coming up. I think it only makes sense, but I don't blame him. He's done so much. I mean, we can go on and on. You guys know what he's been to this city. All right. Like, it's insane. And he's done so much for this organization and this city and beyond, and the game of hockey itself. Like there was no, like, you could have hanged him up 10 years ago, like you've done so much, and I respect him so much. Everyone does. And do we wish he was playing? Of course he does, but we totally understand the family part of it and keeping your health. And he had an amazing career.
Wait, you said he might be coming back. He's still skating, so don't lose hope. He's renting ice. You just never know.
You never know. It could be next year. It could be next year. But
maybe they're the cap circumcisers where he comes out like Sting come playoff time.
I wasn't going to say it, but yeah.
Pull
we
a Golden
talked
Knights.
about that on the show, and then Wags texted me. He's like, buddy, he ain't coming back.
Yeah, I saw
I don't know
that.
where the fuck you heard that. He ain't coming back.
Somebody told me that they put out a company-wide email. Hey, guys, these idiots at Spittin Chiclets are starting rumors again. Patrice is not coming back.
I didn't see that one. I'm still holding out hope. You never know.
Yeah, well, they probably have your BU email still. That's why. Unreal.
Charlie, other than vocally, what's the biggest difference between Marchand as a captain and Bergeron as a captain?
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, everyone's different. They all have their own way. Marshy, just like right off the bat, his work ethic, the way he competes, like he's worked his whole. I think if you ask him, like, did you think you'd have this kind of career? He'd probably be like, I didn't think I was going to make the NHL, let alone have this career, let alone have this amazing career, like that guy's worked for everything. And I wish I knew him way back then to see how he's progressed. But I see him work out in the off season when he's in Boston. Like I see him in practice going on early. Just the little stuff that he does. He's a dog. He's an animal out there. I call him Animal. Like he's an animal, and he brings it. Like practice kind of dull. He's the one to go rough a guy up or set the tone and just kind of get the practice back up again. And, like he sets the tone everywhere, and he's not afraid. He'll do it all, and he's our captain. There was no doubt he was going to be captain. But everyone's different in their own way, and I think he's put a lot of pressure on himself. Like to follow up a guy like Chara and Bergeron, like was it probably two of the best captains ever. Like they're top of the food chain there. But you just hope he doesn't take. You don't have to be one of those guys. Like it's a shared responsibility. Yeah, he wears the C and he does it so well, and he does his part. But it's all of us too, and I think that's the other part of our culture. It's not just one guy, and everyone plays a part. But they're both. Bergeron's a great captain. I don't need to go on about that. Everyone knows. And Marshy's been unbelievable for us too. And I think it's only helped his game on the ice. And the way he controls his emotion and still plays with fire, but rides that line. And then he's unbelievable out there. He's still got it.
Whether you love him or hate him as a player, one thing people agree on is, and you can kind of go into it, I think. How does he go into the corner and always come out of it? I've mentioned before it might help him that he's a little smaller, but there's something about that guy where 50-50 puck battles, every single time he comes out with it.
Yeah, he's an animal. That's why he's a dog. Like today in practice, actually.
But he's smart with stick work too and stuff, right?
I can go on and on about his stick work. But today in practice, we're doing like a drill where you're in the corner. It's a 5-on-5. He's in the corner of the puck. He's supposed to just chip it. The other team's supposed to break out. You're supposed to back check, right? So a couple lines go out first, and they just chip the puck behind you. You start the drill. Well, he's hanging on to it that next time. They blow the whistle. He doesn't chip it. He hangs on to it. He makes our D-man try to get it. He held on this thing for 30 seconds. And he was in the corner. He's doing that. And I'm like, typical Marshy right there, And coach is like, why don't you give him the puck? He goes, they gotta freaking take it from me. But that's him in a nutshell right there. And it's awesome. I loved it. But his stick work, I think of that goal he scored against Pittsburgh earlier this year against Letang.
Oh, when he knocked his stick away?
A couple times where he puts a puck in an area, he grabs your stick, he touches it again, grabs the stick again, and then makes the play. And so I've really studied that about him. He's got to be one of the best in the league, if not the best at that. The way he just stops on a dime. Like it's nerve-wracking going against him in practice. I'm glad I've been playing with him this year. I used to go and get him, Bergeron, and Pasta, first and third line to go against each other in practice, and it wasn't fun. But he's just so skilled in the way he does things, but he works at it. And it's not just given to him. Like, he does it every day, and he does it in practice, and he does it at high speeds. And that's why he's where he is.
What's the conversation like in the locker room day to day? And because he's got the C now, and that takes a little bit of extra energy, was he the guy kind of running court? He seems like the type of guy who would just be running court in a locker room. And like, what do you guys shooting the shit about day to day? Like a lot of NHL hockey?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the day. Marshy's usually in the mix or starting it. He's still got his funny side to him, but I wonder how much he thinks about that being captain, if he's kind of got to dial it back. But he's been awesome with it. But there's got to be like a balance there of like being the captain, being this guy, but also giving it a little bit and being the jokester, because he still has that. He's just well-rounded in that way. But it's usually him. He's a big guy. He's already talked about him is Forby. Like he's
the locker room jester.
Oh man, like he just makes it fun. Like the dry humor and the jokes he does, and he overuses jokes, but for some reason they're still funny whenever he says it. Like any other guy, you'd be like, what? We already heard that, but it's Forbes. So, well,
I wish I had that quality. I just tell them over and over, and nobody laughs.
Just kill him with it. But
no spit, no lube.
Yeah, exactly.
Forbes and Marshy and like Jake Nabrowski's always yapping and talking. Like we get a pretty good group to kind of banter and all that and make fun of each other, and that helps keep things light. And after long seasons, you need that stuff.
Charlie, as far as the center position, what was the best or most useful advice or tip that Bergeron gave you that you're like just stuck and is still used to this day?
That's a good one. Tough to pinpoint one thing. He's not. I think a lot of times you think like guys like that come, they tell you one thing, you're like, oh my God, that's it. But I think he was just he was good at every little thing. And I think that's why he was so well-rounded in the player he was. So there wasn't like one thing he said to me that I was like, oh my God, like light went off. It's just kind of a little of everything each day, and how his leadership that we already touched on, and being a good person and getting to know guys and making everyone feel welcome. On the ice, his face-offs, like I still got to study his face-offs and get better in that. He was so good, and like he uses his stick. I think he's got like a 70, 80 flat. Like how are you snapping him back like that? Like I do that and I just keep breaking sticks. And his face-offs, just the way he is reliable and always in a good spot, I think is one thing that he's really good at that I'm really trying to tone in. It's a minor thing, but just extending your stick when you go to hit guys. Like a lot of these guys, you have you learn to crunch guys and your stick's up here. Well, it gives them another 5 feet, 6 feet to work with, right? So stick out in front. He used to do it in practice, and he tips so many pucks, and whether it goes out of play or it just trickles and it misses the pass like I was intended to do. Like that little thing there has been so crucial, and our coaching staff, and in particular, Joe Sacco, has been huge in trying to relay that message, and always going back to, hey, Berg used to do this, especially on the penalty kill too. So I'd say that little stick work there and keeping it out in front before you engage with someone has been huge.
You'd be hard pressed to find a coach who's had better regular season success in its first 2 years with a team. What was it about Monty when he came in and what he continues to still do that is just like it's perplexing? Like from a coaching perspective, one of the best you've ever had, if not the best coach.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. It's hard not to love last year and this year too, but it's a different team, and things have been a little different we had different guys in there, so things change, in a minor way. But last year we had so much success and we were winning, and Monty kind of comes in. There's a new voice, and that in itself can kind of help. But I think the way he just communicates and interacts with the guys and how he approaches it, and but his pregame speeches too are awesome. Like he's just, and they're not like super long. Sometimes they'll come in with a little story and it gets you fired up, but sometimes they're just short and sweet. And the way he's engaged and he's focused and he says it and delivers it, it's like, oh man, like this guy's ready to go. We're ready to go now. So there's a little of everything there, but and a lot has to be owed to Monty. Like he's been awesome for us. And then on that side, and a different side of it was last year, our leadership too. Like Bergeron, Marshy, Krejci, Nick Foligno is a huge one. I miss having that guy around. He's awesome in the locker room. Got to be one of my favorite teammates I've had. And the leadership he's had from being a captain and being around the league he was like another C in the locker room, and those guys are so crucial. And just having that leadership too, like if our game started to go, during the game and we needed to pick me up or say something, like I'm sure Monty was ready to say something, but then we had Bergeron or Foligno or something addressing right away. So it was like, Monty, just step back. We handle it ourselves and everything works out. So, when you have those guys gone this year, it's a little different. You got to find some new voices and other guys got to step up. And we're starting to realize that and see that and have guys grown. But Monty needs to assert himself a little more until we do that. So that's been an adjustment too. But I think we're only getting better and better at that as the season goes along.
What's the quote, Whit? It's a quote. It's good teams the coaches lead, great teams the players lead.
I've heard that, Biss. I like that. I hadn't
get
heard
that tattooed on my ass.
But Monty's speech to you guys during the dad's trip, that was a great one. I know that was put on the internet in terms of like having your dad there and what that meant to him or you guys. So it just seems like he's one of the guys a little bit without being a complete pushover. It seems like he really kind of rides that line. And that's hard to do as a coach because you see a lot of guys that are a player's coach and gets walked all over, and then you see hard asses that players can't stand. So it's hard to do what he seems to have done since he's been there.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great point. That's exactly how he is. And yeah, there's a balance to everything in life, and that's a balance in itself there. That takes some serious skill and power to do, and he does it pretty well. And you can easily go in his office and talk to him. He's always open. He'll tell you how it is. He doesn't sugarcoat things. And those are the guys you want to play for. But he is playful and jokes, and it keeps things light. Even when it's like kind of a serious speech, and he'll throw something in there, and you kind of give a chuckle and kind of lightens the mood just a bit, and then he's back to serious stuff and focus on the task at hand. So he's been really good at that, and that's been a breath of fresh air too. Like it's fun to play with a coach like that who kind of has that side to him and knows what it's like to be in the locker room and be one of the guys but also be, kind of the head honcho and run things. And, we got to make sure we get our business done and stay focused.
The boys chomping at the bit to get back to the playoffs after the way last year ended up.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, it's not too many times you lose in the first round and you feel that defeated, and it felt like losing in the finals again. Like we had the team, it was there for us. Everyone knows the season we had, and for whatever reason, it just slipped away slowly. And granted, Florida played great. Their goalie came on strong. They played hard, and they gave us a good fight and came down to the last goal, right? That sucked. That sucked. And it still stings, and it will always sting, I think, because you don't always have that team. So we had the best regular season team in history, like you never get those back. And so you have like regrets and just, man, like we had it. We had the team to do it, and we didn't get it done. But on the other hand, too, you turn the page because you have to, and hey, we got a new season here, and we got a different team, and we got new guys. We have other guys who got to step up, and we've seen that. So we're excited about this year. We've been excited about this year, but when you lose like that, you can't wait to go back and get through summer and chomp it out the bit again, like you said. And I know every guy kind of felt that way, still feels that way, and it's a good way to feel that way heading into playoffs here in a little bit and seeing what we can do.
Are you a massive Adam Sandler guy? Is there any truth to that?
Yeah. Who told you that?
Grinelli texted it to me. He's been doing a little digging on you. Now, what do you make of the fact that they're doing a Happy Gilmore remake or part 2? Excuse me.
I've heard little bits, but you never know what's true. But I mean, I'd be pumped just to see another Sandler film. Can you really remake that? I don't know.
No.
I hope they can, but like that's gonna be a toughie.
They're saying Sydney Sweeney could be in it, though. I think that kind of changes things a bit.
Whoa.
There you go.
Okay, so
seconds, please.
Oh, great. Shitty acting and huge jugs. Awesome. I could get that on youjizz.com. Like,
works for me.
Okay.
I love Sandler though. I think he's got like a deal with Netflix. He had to come out with so many movies, and his classics are so good. His new ones, aren't as good, but still I have to watch them all just because it's Adam Sandler.
I love his wardrobe. Have you seen how he dresses like in real life?
Like
Makes me
real.
look like a fucking
Like, all right. That's
English
RA's
butler.
fashion line. What are you talking about? All right. I didn't mind that one that he did where he was the gambling guy.
Oh, Uncut Gems was phenomenal. Did you like
Uncut
that,
Gems
Charlie?
was, to me, one of his best
That
movies.
was
It was
anxiety.
like exactly. It was 2 hours of anxiety attack.
He played you.
Yeah.
Little Nicky might be his best movie. If you haven't
Oh,
seen
my
Little
God.
Nicky, oh, dude.
Yeah, he's got
People
the
won't
classics.
agree with me, but it's a classic.
Yeah, it's so good. I could go on about Adam. I love him. Every time they're on TV, you can't. You just have to leave it on. My wife's like, "This shit again? You kidding me?" But even the other one, the basketball, what was it? Hustler.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that. He was awesome in that, right? I thought
I liked it.
his
That
acting.
sports movie. I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
All right. So
Is that where
give
he's
us.
the agent?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give
like
us
that.
give us your top 3 Adam Sandler movies all time.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, it really does.
You can answer it at the end of the podcast if we have a few more questions. So give you a little time to think about it.
It's gonna take way more time for me to think about that.
Okay.
Geez, Deeds
In
Big
his cup
Daddy.
speech, he raises the cup. He's like, I forgot to answer the Chiclets boy.
There's so
Mr.
many good,
Deeds.
There's like 5 that I rotate through. Deeds, Big Daddy, Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, like those are even like Click and like what were we talking about today? 50 First Dates. We were talking about that today with some of the guys.
I didn't like
the
50
wedding
First
singer.
Dates. I wasn't
I
a
don't
big
mind
fit. I like the scenery because that's the one in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Okay, so I asked this question to Nathan McKinnon, and the answer actually surprised me. I said, hardest guy to go against, center iceman. And he answered at the time, it was Deneau, who was playing in Montreal. Who's the one guy that you're like, oh, fuck, I better be on my A? Like, who's the one guy who's hardest for you to go against night in, night out?
Like all around or just face off wise?
No, all around, like in the play. He said defensively, Deneau was just a wet blanket. That's why. Not just face-offs, the whole picture.
Man, trying to think here. There's so many, like so many guys are different, like so good in their own way, you know, like McDavid, obviously, you know, like trying to his speed against you, like that's one thing. But like there's other guys who are so good in their own zone. Like Kopitar's been so good for forever now, like such a big guy. You think he's getting older and like slower, but like he gets it done. He gets up and down the ice. He's a moose in the corner to try to handle. Like, I'm glad I only play against him twice. But there's so many good ones. So, like, honestly, I'd have to think about it. I'd have to answer that one at the end, too.
Yeah, all of them. That's how elite these guys are.
Yeah.
How do you spend your summers? You're local the whole time. Do you ever go back to Minnie where your wife's from, or?
Yeah, we'll usually go, like, maybe for a week right after the year, just so she can see the fam. We can all see her family. And
you give her a week.
Yeah, I send her away for a week, and then but we have a 7-month-old daughter now, so like it's very important to go see the grandparents, and they come out every now and then to see her and see us. So we'll go for a week and come back, but we fought that a little bit whether to spend summers out in Minnesota or here, but then we bought a place in the Cape, so that kind of solidified it. So
nice.
We started that last year. Just kind of getting it prepared. So this summer we'll spend a good chunk of time down in the Cape.
How has it been first season with a newborn? She was born right before the season started, and you've been kind of balancing that?
Yeah. Hardest thing, matching McDavid's speed or changing a diaper?
I think I'm up to par with a diaper changing, so I think David still got it. But man, there's some times and you get a blowout and it's like, oh man, you call in the reliever, Danielle, get over here. But,
either way, someone's shitting their pants.
Yeah.
That's what they call them, the blowouts?
Blowout, it's bad.
Oh, no.
Bad. But no, she was born in late August, so we're in the middle of moving actually. So I actually moved out of the city. We're in the suburbs now, but training camp and get into that with a newborn, a little tough. But my wife's been unbelievable, just doing most of the work. When I'm on the road, you come home late, maybe you get a game the next day and you try to get your sleep. She's getting up with her. She's been so good and keeping her on such a schedule that she's been a pretty good sleeper now this last little bit. So that's huge, but I love it. Like, it's a whole new meaning of life, and you go on the road and you're looking forward to get back home to see her. And it's the best thing in the world. And just seeing her and the dogs interact, like, that's cool in itself. And it's just, yeah, you just want to be a better person for your kids, and like it just makes you smile thinking about it. So we're pumped to see her grow, and she's been a good luck charm this year so far.
John, to go back to the trade to Boston, I'm assuming you probably know Ryan that I don't beat a couple of South Shore guys. Was that kind of awkward to get traded for each other? Did you just have a laugh about it or talk about it at all?
Yeah, like we both know like it wasn't either of us, it's just kind of how it works. And I was working out with Ryan down at EPS in Foxborough in the summertime, and so we knew of it. I don't know if I sent them a text or not, but I remember one time when I was going back out there to Minnesota, it must have been right after the year he was coming back. I caught him in the airport. That must have been after the first year when we first got traded. So it was kind of funny seeing him there. He's going back home, going back, and we just got traded. So we had a little laugh about it. But he's a great kid. He works hard, and just kind of funny that's you're tied together with him for that. But kind of funny, like a Boston kid gets traded for a Boston kid and goes. But yeah.
Charlie, we got I was gonna call in G for a question. He's a Bruins jock sniffer. Once a BU fan, but now he's a BC fan because they gave him the duffel bag. G, what do you got for him?
I wanted to ask about the Cup final in 2019. Just anything that stood out from that Cup run, like Bergeron make a speech, Chara make a speech. Anything that stood out from that run?
Yeah, I mean there was a lot. It's bittersweet looking back for obvious reasons. The bitter part, but like to come in here and get traded to the Bruins, and then all of a sudden you go on this run, and then you come that close. Like it was just like a fairy tale story for the team, for myself too. Like your first year with the team and doing it in front of family and friends, and you come that close, get taken away. Oh, it's freaking brutal. And you wish it went the other way, but it didn't. But I think it was game 6 in St. Louis. So we're down 3-2, game 6, St. Louis. And I remember, I think we caught wind they were getting geared up for their parade that night after they're winning game 6 to win it. And so that was kind of, bulletin board material, and, want to squash that. But Bergeron stood up at one point, and I'm pretty sure he read like a letter or paper he wrote when he was a young kid, just about hockey and his dream and all that. And it was unbelievable. Like it was just the perfect time, the perfect moment. Everyone was glued to him when he was reading this, and it was just so heartfelt, but like got you so pumped up. And it was so cool. So I'll never forget that. And I know we obviously won that game. I think we went out and beat him up pretty good to force game 7 back at the Garden. So that's something I'll always remember.
And I got to leave you with this. Like one of my earliest memories of the Massachusetts high school hockey tournament was you, if I'm not mistaken, you led Weymouth to the Super 8. Did you not?
I definitely didn't lead Weymouth because I was a freshman. I was like 5'6".
But I remember them pointing you out, being like, this kid is going to go to BU someday. I remember too, you had this big motherfucker on your team, bald guy with a beard. Did you not?
Liam Harrington. Yeah, he's a big time D man. He was a junior at the time too. Or like, this guy looks like he's 45 years old. But my cousin at the time, Tim King, was our go-to guy. He was our captain. He was the best player in the state. And he actually led us, but I was the freshman, the little guy. And you probably heard about me at one point because I had one goal all year against Brookline High, the 10th goal in a 10-0 win.
Nice.
But
Those
Super 8, I scored our first game in the Super 8 to be the game winner. So that was like, I think people kind of ran with that.
Yeah, you were just in the right place at the right time, G.
Right place, right time.
Exactly. Isn't it such a joke that they've gotten rid of the Super 8 now?
Yeah, I don't like it at all.
It's terrible.
It's not the same. Like that's when people ask like, what's your favorite hockey memory, all that, like obviously thinking of like NHL, been in the league for like 11, 12 years. I always go back to that. Super 8, freshman playing at the Garden, like the whole, man, I get chills. I get chills still thinking about it. It's some of my best memories, if not my best memory. And we lost in the finals that year too. We got smoked, but I loved it. And it was so cool to like, there's nothing like playing for your town. And I'm very proud to be from Weymouth and all that. Like I loved it. And it was so cool to see everyone come together for that.
We were just talking about Josh Doan. I think it was last podcast about his growth spurt. I think he was a small guy. And you said you were a freshman in high school and you were 5'6"?
I was like 5'6", like $140. And I think that next year I grew 6'1" or something. And So yeah, I was a little guy at the time, didn't have the speed or anything, but yeah, that's about the time I grew.
Sprout up like crazy. That's a big growth spurt.
Yeah.
That season in high school, I was going to say, you guys wiped out more Catholics than the friggin' Church of England that season, did you?
Oh, Jesus. Here we go.
Yeah.
Don't quote them, folks.
Oh, historical joke, Biz.
It was awesome. We had Malden Catholic first game, played CM, the number one team in the state, the next game, and a couple days before that, our starting goalie got kicked off our team. And we're in pretty much a must-win game against the best team in the state. And our sophomore goalie, who I don't think he ever played, he stepped in. We won 2-1. This guy stood in his head. It was unbelievable. We did the whole, you win the game. It's a round robin, right? Like you win the game. We did the whole jump on the goalie like we just won the cup. And third game, Central Catholic beat them, and then played Austin Prep at the Harvard. Won in overtime, and then to go to the Garden. It was unbelievable. It was so cool.
Well, boys, that's been a fun time here. We appreciate your time, man. We know you're busy. You got a crazy schedule, and best of luck to you guys in playoffs, man. We talked about the bullshit matchups and the fact that it's not 1 through 8. So I know you guys are going to have a tough first round opponent. Is there anything else you want to ask him, Rear?
Yeah. What that last Sailor movie, Spaceman with the spider? Did you watch that one on Netflix?
I just watched it a few weeks ago, and I watched it on the plane. It was interesting. I don't know how I feel about it, but I watched the whole thing because I had nothing else to do. But that was a different one.
That's not in the top 3, though. That's not the top 3.
No, definitely.
Yeah, no. That doesn't crack it. That doesn't even come close.
But
I like these
had a little bit,
movies.
Right? Yeah, it was like a deep thought type of movie.
It was different. It was different Adam Sandler, but can't blame him.
Well, Charlie, congrats on all your success, buddy, and you deserve all of it. So we appreciate you coming on, and congrats again on the birth of your daughter, and good luck in the playoffs, buddy.
No, thanks a ton, guys. And like I said, you guys have been so good for our game and growing it. So I appreciate everything you guys do, and I'm always listening to you guys. So it's pretty special to be invited on here. So thank you guys, and best of luck to you. I'll be following.
Who's got the worst takes of all of us? And you can include Pasha because he said that Zaka's a bum, and he's
too
a bum.
Nice. He's too nice.
Yeah, no, that takes my pick right there. We'll go Pasha. I don't even know if
suck on that, Pasha.
He's getting a lot of
piece
hate
of
from you guys, so I feel bad doing that. But Zaka's my guy. Zaka's the best.
Attaboy, I love it. Thanks so much, buddy.
See you, buddy.
Thanks,
you guys.
Go
care.
Bees.
Before we go any further, guys, we need to talk about Sport Clips. When it comes to getting your hair cut, don't just go anywhere. Don't just go anywhere like Fishy went. We've talked about Fishy's haircut. He didn't go to Sport Clips. He made an enormous mistake. Don't do the same as him, and make sure you visit the specialists who live and breathe men's hair. They make it easy for you. They know what they're doing, and they do a phenomenal job. And you can't just trust anyone with your hair. You cannot do it. At Sport Clips Haircuts, stylists undergo special training to be the experts in men's hair, making them the masters of mullets, the finessers of fades, and understudies of the undercut. It's easy to have confidence in your look when you're in the hands of a pro. That is what is at Sport Clips. Professionals, highly trained professionals that make you look good and feel good, and a good haircut can go a long way. Just another way Sports Clips helps keep your head and your hair in the game is confidence. That's what they do. They know how to do it. It's an easy cut. It's quick, and you look great leaving. Sport Clips, it's a game changer. Thank you so much to Charlie Coyle. Great guy, great player, hell of a season. Very interested to see what he can do this year. They got Lindholm there to help now, so we appreciate him hopping on. Sorry it took so long to get out. But, boys, moving on. A little list was dropped. This was on Sportsnet. It is the top 10 unsigned RFAs. So, interestingly enough, they got number 1, Jeremy Swayman, goalie in Boston. Enormous coming out party this season. Apparently, there are rumors that he's asking for $10 million a year. Grinelli told me he's been told that's completely false. We don't know, but he's listed at number 1. After that, Moritz Seider in Detroit. He's unsigned along with Lucas Raymond. They're 2 and 3, 2 studs for Detroit that they got to get locked up.
Well, before we move on, what do we think? What do we think here about Swayman? Like, what is? I mean, for 2 seasons now, they've split the net. Him and Ullmark. They move on from Ullmark, which essentially puts like a lot of the cards in Swayman's favor because now he's got even more leverage. But it's obviously a big team dynamic there. You had guys in the past take hometown discounts. they've kind of gotten away from that a little bit. Like Pasa obviously got paid market value. McAvoy got paid market value. What's market value for Swayman here? Do you think $8 million gets this deal done tomorrow?
I would give him 8 years, $72 million tomorrow and not think twice about it. Now, that's 9 a year. That's not the 10. But if Grinelli's saying he hears that's complete bullshit, then who even knows if it's true or not? I think from what I saw last year and his age, like I think he's going to be an absolute stud for the next 10 years in this league. And that's, dude, now granted, do you have to give him that much? No, because he's restricted. But like you said, Biz, getting rid of Ullmark, buddy, he's got you now. He's got you by the balls.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're trying to offer. I wish we had more in-depth kind of research or knowledge of what they're offering him. Don Sweeney apparently says he's confident something will get done, but then there are other reports saying they're not even close. So would you agree $9 million per year? Is that a huge overpayment or?
No, I don't think it's an overpayment. I just think that given to where he is now probably has a lot to do with the fact that he didn't have all this pressure put on him because he got to share the net with Ullmark. Remember, like Ullmark 2 years ago was the Vezina winner. He was the better goalie. The numbers shifted this year where obviously Swayman was the guy. He got to learn from him and put in that good situation in order to get to where he is right now. I think that something should be said about loyalty and a slight hometown discount where by the sounds of it, it seems like Swayman would be willing to get there. I think the number's 8 times 8. And I think that people might say that's shockingly low for the numbers based on what other guys are probably making as number one goaltenders in the year around the league, excuse me. But I think that keeps everybody happy. And fuck, man, how
he's saying no
happy?
to that? He's saying no to that.
To 8 times 8?
Think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think. I think he says no to that.
Yeah. So I mean, if he wants 10 and there, and you would give him 8, let's settle at 9. But he's one of those guys. Going into last year, I was like, no way he's going to be as good without Ullmark. I just didn't think he could handle the load. He proved me completely wrong. He was an absolute stud. Put that team on their back. I don't think they do anything without him, right? So it's one of those things. He's earned it. It seems like he loves being there, loves being a part of that team. It's just like you said, Whit too. Like he's got them by the balls right now too. They have no goalie in the pipeline that's kind of in the rearview mirror. Like it's his net for as long as he wants it. And I don't know.
Do you guys think this was mismanaged by the Bruins in a sense of I wasn't necessarily crazy about the return they got for Ullmark? Now you give Swayman the advantage from a contract negotiation perspective. Do you think this was fumbled a little bit by the Bruins?
Possibly. I'd like Grinelli. Hop on here for a second. You're the bee's jock sniffer. What do you think? What would you pay him? What would you be happy with? What would you be disappointed with? That's too much money. What are you thinking right now?
He's messaging with him. He knows what he wants.
I'm not messaging him at all. I think 9.25, 8 years, 9.25. That's the sweet spot right there. 10 mil. That report came out of the Boston Sports Radio today. I heard that's bullshit. I think anywhere between 8.75 to 9.25, that's the sweet spot right in there. And I agree with what Keith said. It's his net as long as he wants it.
I'd say the same thing as I would have said to Faber. 8 times 8, sign this, or you're going to be in Providence, you fucking rat.
Well, you mentioned Providence.
Fucking Neely.
How many goalies make 10 sheets?
Sign this fucking paper. I'm Seabass, bitch. That's what I would say.
He probably would scream at him like that too, Seabass style. Brandon Busicki apparently is like a nice prospect. He's like 6'5", I think. So
he's one of the top goalies in the AHL right now, and then DiPietro as well. They have another good goalie. I mean, they have Bob Essenza is one of the best goalie coaches in the NHL. So like they have a system here. They know what they're doing with goalies. They know how to draft. They know how to develop.
And Ullmark was making 5, right?
Yeah.
So it could be one thing where they've so long been like, all right, we kind of got 2 guys. Now all of a sudden, like, oh my, we never really planned on having one guy making that much money. Biz kind of goes back. Did they mismanage the entire situation? Should they have traded Ullmark before last season after his Vezina season? That's a question you got to ask. Or at the deadline possibly where they tried to and he said no. So I think the biggest question that Bruins fans have, Whit, is after seeing what Askarov just got, why didn't they get more for Ullmark? Like what? Like it doesn't make sense. Because he's older.
But he's a Vezina winner. He's proven. Askarov's never played. He's never proven himself in the NHL. Linus Ullmark, and we've seen in the NHL that goalies can play until their late 30s. So I think I'm just speaking for Bruins fans, and we are a little irrational at times. But I think the return for Askarov is pissing us off a little bit more than how they've fumbled the Swayman Ullmark bit.
That's a fucking great point, G. That's a great point.
It's a question mark going into camp.
Hey, Cam Neely should call G.
He did.
When does camp open? 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Fuck. You're nervous.
Maybe Cam Neely needs to add G to the round table.
He would snap G with like his index and his thumb. He'd just grab him by the throat.
Well, sounds like impulse controls his problem because he doesn't know what to do with the trades and stuff. So maybe he should get that. Maybe he should figure out if he's got low T, getting proper sleep.
In Detroit, Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond. I love both of these players. Moritz Seider has not missed a game. He's got 3 seasons, 82 games in all 3 seasons. He's looked phenomenal. He has 50 points, 42 points, and then 42 points again. I mean, buddy, if you could ever get this guy at 8x8, 8.5 times 8, oh my God. I don't know what they're offering. I also see the Yzer plan, and maybe he's like, I want to bridge these guys. I want to bridge them. And their agents are like, you want to fucking bridge us? You want to fucking bridge us right now? And Raymond has looked better and better from the beginning of this season till game 82. I bet you Lucas Raymond is one of the most improved players in the NHL.
I would say him and Larkin, best players on the team, bar none.
Oh, yeah.
Larkin was a little banged up.
He's a beast. He's a beast.
So last 25 games of the season, I think Detroit fans would have handed Lucas Raymond $10 million a year. That's how they're excited they are about him. Now, there are certain GMs that might just hand over the money, but there's also guys like Stevie Y who's probably saying, fuck, dude, I got the Yzer plan here. We haven't made playoffs yet, and you guys want to get paid based on what? Like, Seider did have a bit of a sophomore slump. I thought he was a lot better last year, but nonetheless, they still end up missing playoffs. So where do you see him landing at?
Still 50 points, 42 points, 42 points. As we said, I mean, that's not that big of a slump. I mean, I know he was a monster his first year. It was his first year, right? That he was a monster.
Yeah. Calder winner.
Yeah. And, dropping down to 42 points. But like you said, their team wasn't making the playoffs. They weren't that great. I just think he's like he's your next. I think he's like a Pronger type player, just big, mean, plays in all situations. Like, obviously, you're never going to second guess what Yzerman's doing, but I think both of those guys are guys that you got to lock up for as long as you can. And because they're both 22 right now, 21.
Okay, so is it hard for his agent to ask for more than what Brock Faber just got?
No.
Fuck, man.
I think
right now, if you're asking me, I'd rather Seider than Faber.
So you're saying he's basically worth between 8 points, kind of like we just talked about Swayman, 8.75 to 9.25. There's your window then. If you're saying that you'd rather have him, he does have a bigger mean streak. He's obviously 3 years in, a little bit more proven, where you're like, okay, I know exactly what I'm getting from a baseline perspective. So yeah, it seems like that $9 million will be the number. So then if he's getting that, Raymond's saying, fuck, I'm getting what he's getting.
Yeah, they're going to get the same deal.
I'd pay them both $9 million a year for 8 years. I just love handing out dough. I can be honest with that. But Raymond, he had 31 goals. He leads the team in scoring with 72 points. He's 22. Like, this guy is so good, and he's only going to get better. And yeah, lock him up. But the side is like, what have you guys done? You haven't gotten to playoffs yet. I see that. But when Keith says, like, how do you question Yzerman? I think the problem is Wings fans are like starting to whisper questions about the Yzer plan. Like this year, and I know the Buffalo, Ottawa, Detroit thing, it's even larger looming
Viagra
this
triangle.
Season.
That's what I'm calling it this year, the Viagra triangle. Who's going to get hard?
Who's getting hard?
That's it.
Who's going to just put some teams on the workbench on the Viagra triangle?
One of them better start, or somebody's getting fucking canned.
Yeah.
Right?
So those are the top three. I'll quickly run
Little
through.
Caesar's Pizza. You're going to get your delivery. That's one cheese and pepperoni pizza. That's $127, sir.
Sorry, we had to pay Lucas.
Yeah, to thank Lucas and fucking Moritz for that one. We got the Hawaiian for you too. We got free dip though.
Going back to Raymond, like I played against Raymond his first year, and I think he was a first round guy, high end skill, but he plays hard. Like he's not one of those guys you want to be on the ice against. Like he finishes checks, he's in on the forecheck. And like Whit was saying about skating, like, those guys that can skate like that, they can play forever. They can, put up numbers. And then, how often does a, 50 point at the worst 42 point defenseman come around, right? You do that for 15 years, you're in the Hall of Fame.
So after that, they list Seth Jarvis, one of our best current player interviews we've ever done. And actually, shout out to all the feedback from Arbor Jackeye. That interview was excellent. I think people really enjoyed his story of just perseverance more than anything. The story of telling the parents about the contract. We did it. Not I did it. We did it. Excellent. But we did Seth Jarvis this season. Entertaining, funny, just a guy that has no problem when the camera's around on remaining himself, right? Like he's not somebody that's buttoning it up once he starts getting interviewed. He's just a kind of a goofball that has a blast and someone who screams like, I am living my dream in the NHL and I'm having so much fun. I'm not going to pretend to be somebody else. So Tulsky has said that he will remain a Carolina Hurricane. This report I'm reading says, this is according to the Canes Corner podcast host Adam Gold. Carolina and Jarvis are both seeking a maximum 8-year commitment north of $8 million per season. So makes sense to me on what he's done. I don't know when that'll end up going down. Quickly going down the line and just hop in maybe after for any of the guys you want to chat about, Biz. Thomas Harley in Dallas. And everyone talks about Miro Heiskanen, but this kid is awesome himself. I think 15 goals last year, right around then. Offensively gifted, skates well. So it's not just Heiskanen as a young stud there. Harley, you got Cole Perfetti in Winnipeg. He hasn't been signed. Dawson Mercer in New Jersey. Peyton Krebs in Buffalo. I feel like after Mercer, like it gets to Krebs, it gets to Nick Robertson in Toronto, and it gets to Philip Tomasino in Nashville. But the first 7 names are bigger names than the last 3 I just mentioned there. So I don't know.
I think Mercer's one for Jersey that they got to get signed up. Like he's a kid, like just watching him, he looks, kind of like Jarvis, like just looks like he's having fun out there. I think he's like from Nova Scotia somewhere, like just a kid living his dream, having fun. And another kid that's hard to play against. So he can play up and down your lineup. One of those guys that you want around. I heard a rumor that when they were trying to trade for, who was the goalie they were trying to get from Calgary? Markstrom, that Calgary wanted Mercer, and they're like, no, we're not doing it for Mercer. So, I mean, obviously they want him, and now it's just about getting it figured out, and I'm sure Tommy Fitz will figure it out.
So Mercer's from Newfoundland. I think that there's probably some Newfies that are like, he's not from Nova Scotia, he's from Newfoundland. I know that there's a lot of pride up there. I think what helps the Devils and hurts him a little bit is he went from 42 points his rookie year. He's also a player, same as Seider. They've played 3 years in the league. They have not missed a game. He went from 42 points, second year, 56 points. That was a 27-goal season. This year dropped off to 20 goals and only 33 points. That helps Jersey probably in the negotiation, but in very similar fashion, it's one of those things to Beniers where the team wasn't as good and a complete write-off season for the Devils. Probably one of the most exciting teams that I'm looking forward to see this year is New Jersey. I hate saying that with Pasha. I don't know if he's listening. No, Pasha's in France right now, running around Europe.
He's actually he was in Sweden. I got a FaceTime the other night, him and Lundqvist. I think at Cafe Opera. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So Pasha's just terrorizing Sweden. I think he met his future ex-wife there too. He was raving about this lovely girl he met there.
Pasha's drinking with Lundqvist. He's like, bro, Durr was better than you. Fuck, Lundqvist's like, get out of my face. Fucking weasel.
Actually, I think there is a chance that we do get Markstrom on the podcast before the season begins. Like, I feel like he's one of those guys, once the season starts, he's dialed in, much like he was when he said last year, hey, when the season starts, don't fucking talk to me about trades. I'm zoned in here. I'm trying to win games for my team. So no fuckery. yet they performed a little bit of fuckery, and then he let them know about it. But I agree with you, Whit. New Jersey, like I would put my life on them. They make playoffs and no more tattoo bets, because I think that they'll probably potentially reach the conference finals, at least to the second round. They are fucking lethal. They have weapons and like, a goaltender.
They bring back Hamilton, who, what an enormous loss that was. Hughes was out injured for a lot of the season. They have Markstrom now. They brought in Pesce. Luke Hughes is a year older. Simon Nemec's a year older. I like, if you're asking me right now, Jesper Bratt, it's just a wagon of a team. Like Palat, Meyer. I think like Florida's the Cup champs, and they're bringing a lot back. But after them, New Jersey, like, are they the best team in the East? I would rather Jersey's lineup than the Rangers.
Leafs.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about the Leafs. So we'll see.
I mean, you're talking about the RFAs that aren't signed. I'm more baffled by the UFAs, like the older guys that aren't signed. Like a couple names, like James Van Riemsdyk, blows my mind that he isn't signed.
Great
a guy
net front guy.
Unbelievable. One of the best I ever played with. Net front, takes care of his body better than I've ever seen a guy. This guy's I bet he spends $200,000 a year on treatment, all that stuff. This guy's
that's Russell Wilson numbers.
Flies in a masseuse every road trip that we're on, has a guy in like every pocket area, flies people in. He's doing, the cryo chamber, all that stuff. He's a machine. Like the way he could, like you said, he's not the best skater, but he's gonna get you 15 goals. Be on the power play second, even if it's the second power play, but great guy to have in the locker room. Has done it, has proved it. It's crazy, man. Another guy, Max Pacioretty. I mean, he had 30 goals for, seems like every year for the last 10 years. He was scoring 30 goals. Now can't get a job. I know he's had some injuries, but
apparently he has deals in place. I think he has offers and he's choosing. I haven't heard from Van Riemsdyk. You'll definitely see him on a PTO somewhere, if anything. Yeah. It's just crazy now. The league is so young, and boom, dude, you're done after what seems like it's a long career, but it goes by so quick, and they're just moving on from people. I think you'll see both of those guys. What? Yeah.
It's age discrimination.
Yeah, I agree with you, Biz. Now, Keith, can you explain to me the Van Riemsdyk backpack he's constantly wearing around?
Who, Dora the Explorer? That's what I used to call him. It's like a miniature sized of Brent Burns. Like, has all of his stuff in there, is just dialed in. I've never seen anything like it. Has all of his supplements, his ARP machine or whatever those guys use. Like,
he uses the ARP.
Oh yeah, he does everything.
Can you describe to people what the ARP is? We've talked about it before. It's the thing where you put like patches on and it sends shock waves. Guys do it on their brain and their head too.
Yeah, I never saw him do it on his head. He probably should, but he does everything. The infrared lights, the sauna, he used to do this crazy breathing thing in the sauna and then in the cold tub, back and forth, doing his breathing. And he used to say it was like doing a cardio, the way he'd hold his breath for a certain amount of time. He was doing
This
stuff.
is like rubbing himself right now as you're talking about breathing.
I have my hand in my pants. Look.
Yeah. Another guy, Kevin Shattenkirk, too, doesn't have a job. Like, I mean, this guy's won Stanley Cups. He's proven. I remember last year, I think it was last year with the Bruins, like he wasn't even playing in a game. He came in the locker room and, he's telling the guys what they need to do, get ready. They go out and win that game. So just a good veteran to have around. And it's crazy because when we came in the league, guys were UFAs at 35 years old, 34 years old. Now they're done. You're done at 35. It's crazy. Even
Justin Schultz doesn't have a job, Biz.
Yep.
Tyson Barrie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like you're
Tyson
telling
Barrie,
me
3 years ago was the hottest name in the UFA market. Remember, you gave him $12 million a year, Biz.
I believe it was 14.
Yeah.
But like a team that's like maybe their power play struggles, like he's played with the best of them. He's one of the best power plays in the league with McKinnon. He's played with McDavid. Like you're telling me Bedard can't use a fucking skilled older guy to learn a little few tricks off of the power play? Like I'm shocked that Chicago hasn't went out and offered him like whatever. I think he would play for $800,000. Get a 1-year deal. He can have a prove it season, and you get a guy on a Bargoon, and next thing you know, your power play's buzzing. Yeah. Yeah, it's what was the weirdest thing that Van Riemsdyk did? Was he ever doing the dry needling, like the EMS?
If there's something that anyone has ever done, he's doing it. Like everything. It's insane what he does.
He spent bank on some gear too, right? Didn't he like always buy some like expensive clothes and stuff?
Oh my God, this guy shopping. Biz, it's like you when you're shopping, but his pockets were a little deeper.
It wasn't PacSun.
Yeah, no. This like we went. We had like a drip trip. We called it. Like everyone had to be dripped out, and he went into Gucci, bought like a Gucci one-piece suit, like tracksuito for like $4,500. I'm like, dude, you're gonna wear this one time. He's like, yeah, no, it's still sick.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, he did it all, man. This guy is.
What's his
special.
career earnings? My
Dude,
assumption would be $58 million.
No.
That would be my guess.
More, I think.
Yeah. Dude, I went to this guy's house in Minnesota. He's got one of the sickest houses I've ever seen. In the whole basement, so like the whole size of his house is the basement, and it's just, he's got like a basketball court, his gym, his cold tubs, his hot tubs. There's a chef down there that like cooking the meals the guys work out there at his house. It's crazy. And then you go upstairs, they don't even have a living room.
What do you mean?
He took it out so he could have a more gym.
So Biz,
he's got Pilates reformers in his living room.
His kids don't have bedrooms, but
65
he's got Pilates
sheets.
rooms.
He's made 65 sheets in his career. How much have you made, Jans?
More than that.
More?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, dude. I'm the poorest guy on the podcast.
Is G on?
Abba Zabba, you my only friend.
Gurnelli's sitting back there like, fuck me.
Yeah.
Going through the rest of this, did you guys, anyone have a chance to see Rupe Hintz's outfit at his wedding?
Oh, whoa. God, that's a drip. That's a drip trip right there.
Holy shit. He looked like he was like 2/3 of an Oreo cookie. It was just,
yeah.
I don't know. I never seen anything like that.
Him and Line looked like characters from Dick Tracy. They looked
I thought only the wife is supposed to wear white on wedding day.
Finland's different, man. I think Finland's obviously different based on that drip. If you want to check it out, you can go to his Instagram. I was amazed to see he's next to Patrick Laine, who's dressed in an interesting suit himself. He looks pretty good, but this suit is just, it's black shoes, the right leg's white, the left leg of the pants are black, and then you go up and the left side of the jacket's black, the right side of the jacket's white, and then it's all white on the collar, and then he's got a black vest underneath. I don't have the balls or the style to pull this off. I don't know, Biz, if you think that that's something you could rock, but I certainly could not.
No, I'm way less trendy, older age. Like I don't like to wear things that are trendy.
Oh no, you wear sweatpants everywhere now.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's just to be comfortable. That's when I'm on the road working, taking a page out of RA's book. He's now my fashion consultant. The old fart catchers. The fart catchers. Oh, speaking of drip, my understanding is that the owner of the Tampa Bay Lightning, did we talk about this last week, that this team is being valued at $2 billion and they might sell it, or a majority stake in the team? If Tampa Bay sells for $2 billion, I think they just recently had the Toronto Maple Leafs listed as $2 billion. That means they're worth like 5 to 10.
No, like double maybe 4, 3.5, 4.
Bro, if you think that we're talking same stratospheres from the Tampa Bay Lightning to the Toronto Maple Leafs, talking about one of the most storied franchises in the world. It is the most storied franchise. It's for sure the richest. Last the valuations came out on paper, I don't think that Tampa was that much north of 1.2 billion. Like G could probably pull it up while we're talking here. So the fact that a year's played out, because last year at the beginning of the year they came out with the valuations. Now all of a sudden it might sell for $2 billion. And also my understanding is that private equity can only get involved up to 20% of a team's franchise value. And I was talking to my buddy Jeff Jacobson, who's a very smart guy, and he's saying with where these franchise values are going, individuals won't be able to afford to buy these teams. Like, you're telling me if fucking you're only allowed private equity 20%. Like, who the fuck has billions of dollars to drop? The higher these valuations go, there's probably, I don't know, 1,000 people on the planet that could afford to buy a sports team. So they all have to want one if these are what the values are at.
Yeah.
Right?
I think if you look at Tampa, and obviously that's crazy money, but you look at Tampa, like when we first came in the league, it was the rink was downtown, and then that terrible residence and hotel, whatever, that everyone stayed. That downtown now is unbelievable. It's like a legit downtown city, and that's strictly because of how good the Tampa Bay Lightning have been. What they've brought to that city, jobs, opportunities, and just people coming in. I think it's amazing and worth that money. But yeah, it is crazy money to hear that a team that was probably 10 years ago worth $150 million.
Exactly. So here, I just pulled it up. National Hockey League franchise values in 2023. This was at the start of last season. Leafs were the highest at 2.8. That's what they were valued at. And then all the way down, I want to say they're like 10th. Tampa Bay Lightning, $1.25 billion. So even in that short amount of time, now you'd imagine that you talked about the real estate and everything around there. That's what's probably bumped it up as part of this deal. But it seems like majority of these teams now, it's a real estate play along with buying a franchise. And that's what's getting these things to astronomical numbers, where if there's no real estate play, people ain't even really that interested. So just remarkable to hear that the Tampa Bay Lightning might go for around that number.
I feel like if they do sell, and that's the number, I think you're going to see several teams be sold in the near future. And I think that all of a sudden you're going to see owners like, this is just such ridiculous profit we would have from what we paid for these teams. If like, would you be surprised if the Carolina Hurricanes were sold? I mean, that Tom Dundon, like, he's just straight up in that thing to make money, I believe. The way
what did he buy it for?
I have no idea, actually. Gee, maybe you can look that up, but
probably
it's more
a couple
about
hundred.
It's more about seeing what people are willing to pay. The private equity thing's nuts, and I know that's on August 13th. The Hurricanes were valued at $980 million. If Tampa goes for $2 billion, I mean, that valuation's ridiculous. Then, so I don't. The private equity thing's nuts, especially with the NFL, where I believe they have made it clear in the NFL. I don't know the percentage they can own, but there has to be one person that owns 51%. So I don't know if that means private equity could own the other 49, but that's going to change the game in these equity in these funds, like looking to get into the sports ownership game and create revenue off that and create basically an investment that looks like you're not going to lose any money. The other thing I think about with
we ruined the housing market, it's time to move to sports teams.
But also, if the Lightning sell for $2 billion, what the hell is the expansion fee going to be for the next two teams that come into the league? Because you saw it hop up to, I believe, was it $800 that Seattle had to pay?
I think it was $850 they paid, or maybe it was $650. Actually, it was $650 for Vegas, and then it bumped up to, I believe, like you said, $800, and then I think you have to consider Utah at the $1 billion tag. So I think right now, I think if Houston and Atlanta are coming in, you're looking at between $1 billion and 1.2.
Wow.
Maybe even more. Maybe even more if the owners are like, hey, you want in, you're paying for it. Look at what all these other teams are worth. So
wow,
crazy
Seattle was
story
actually
there.
at $650. Seattle was at $650 million, and then that means Vegas was probably at $500. So I was off
they
by
were.
100.
They were $500. So what a deal, dude. How about Foley's laughing now?
Oh, he's laughing. He's laughing.
Another thing I got a kick out of, this is on a personal note. I received some tweets. Apparently, like, I don't know, I don't think it's Fox Sports Pittsburgh anymore, but whatever the channel that posts Penguins games in Pittsburgh, they were showing an old game when I was on the team. We were playing Dallas, and it was the dad's trip, and I only had the pictures sent to me, but Dan Potash was interviewing my dad in the box during the game, and it was in Dallas, and my dad's mentioning how we had gone over the day before to the site of where JFK was killed and assassinated. And my dad said on the broadcast, I don't even know if Ryan knows that JFK is dead. So I did get it. I wish I could see the clip of that, but he's just chirping me during the game. Very funny chirp. So I got a kick out of that one.
Which brings it full circle in the fact that you went through that list a few weeks ago of JFK's murder and the similarities it had to.
And I didn't even know he was dead, according to my dad. So, kind of a sad story that maybe you'll see some positivity from. Everyone remembers Adam Johnson was killed with the skate to his neck over in England. Horrible, heartbreaking story. Well, the news broke that the American Hockey League Board of Governors unanimously approved that mandatory cut-resistant neck protection will be necessary for the upcoming season. I think we talked a lot about maybe the NHL someday doing that. And one of those things where people saw that story, it was such a headline story, just out of the game of hockey. It was everywhere. And I think a lot of people are like, wait, why don't NHL players wear neck guards? You saw... I thought more guys would. What you noticed after the death of Adam Johnson was a lot of older guys with kids started wearing them. And I think, Kopitar did. TJ Oshie has the War Road thing and the shirts he sells with the protection for the wrists as well. Maybe someday it will be mandatory in the NHL. I wouldn't be surprised. It seems that a lot of things that start in the AHL end up moving upwards to the National Hockey League. It's just something as a former player, guys are so not in tune, but just comfortable with how they're set up in their gear that they're just, as crazy as it sounds, they look at it like it's such a fluke, which it really is, that I'm almost willing to make this risk because it was that much of a fluke. But I'm happy to see the AHL do that. I think maybe it is different being a parent now. I know right after that, I got my son Ryder one of those neck, he has a Bauer one. And it's just one of those things where now you'll see the AHL do it. Same with the visors, where guys are so used to wearing it that they go up and they don't switch, right? And the league ended up doing visors in the AHL mandatory. Now they're mandatory in the NHL. Maybe neck protection is the next step. I don't know if either one of you have an opinion on that. I think,
well, they're also making it look a little bit cooler too, and like a little bit more like compression wear and just like a sleeker aerodynamic, so guys are not as hesitant to throw it on. And the more guys that do, and as its grandfather, just like it was visors, I think it'll become the norm. Now, Jans, I want to say that somebody on our team when we were in Arizona got cut, and you used to dress a certain way, but then you started adding the ones around your ankle to your like dress up routine, right? Like the Kevlar.
Yeah, so I used to wear before they had the socks, I used to wear the ones that they had for the wrist on my Achilles. And then obviously the ones on the wrist too, because I even in Florida, like Jonathan Huberdeau had an Achilles thing, and it was just like, it might have been around the time when Carlson got the Achilles. So it was one of those things where, in the sock, you're not really feeling it, right? The neck guard, I'm sure it will take guys some getting used to, but like you said, you start in the AHL with those, and then it'll just be second nature for these kids. And you think of all the kids coming up now that are 15, 16, 17 years old, they're all going to be wearing them. So in 10 years, everyone in the NHL is going to be wearing them. What was the guy in Montreal that used to wear the turtleneck?
Plekanec, yeah.
Like, I always thought he looked sick with the turtleneck, but I wasn't cool enough to wear something like that. So, I think it's one of those things, like you said, they make it look good. It's not affecting the guys. It's not making, their equipment heavier. And it's ultimately, at the end of the day, hopefully going to save someone's life. And, terrible story what happened. But, the NHL taking initiative and making the younger guys wear those, I think it shows the younger kids too that anyone can wear it.
Who's on the first line all time NHL turtleneck team? Plekanec. Yashin used to wear a pretty filthy one.
Yeah, that's right. Wayne wore one.
Did he?
Wayne's like I think
Wayne had the one with like his own symbol on it. Remember, he had it was like him. It was kind of like the Jordan symbol. That was style.
Yeah, I think he had a Kings one at one point.
Yeah,
I don't think he ever wore the turtleneck until he got to LA.
Maybe.
I don't think, like, back then they used to wear those like old school, the blue. Like the blue undergarments that were 100% cotton. They used to be about 300 pounds after the game, like a goddamn weight vest. Some guys used to go commando. I don't know how guys would go nothing. Like
Eddie used to. Jovo,
no socks. Nothing over
socks.
Too. He just wore the holder,
the cock
beanbag holder.
Yeah, that's it.
I just made up Guy Carbonneau. I just Google image. I'm not even close to a turtleneck on.
No, that was a good try. Any other famous turtleneck guys from the NHL that we're missing?
The little guy in Montreal after him, he used to have the white Reebok skates. Was it Desharnais? He wore one for a little bit. Yeah, I remember there was like a clip of Sean Thornton chirping him. He's like, you can't wear that.
Well, actually, that kind of leads into the next thing that we had written down is the cover boys of NHL 25, all three Hughes brothers. Do you not feel like at least Jack could be rocking a turtleneck? Like Jack Hughes, the way he plays, could pull off a turtleneck. So
100%.
Luke's a little bigger, so you don't necessarily picture it as much. But what an amazing thing. Three brothers in the NHL is one thing. They're all nasty, which is ridiculous. And now they're on the cover of a video game the rest of their lives. Like, pretty cool to see those three guys, two of them on the same team, get to be on the cover of the video game this year. I'm not a gamer. I don't think any of us are. But that's like big news. When the cover athlete pops up and the game pops up, you're seeing all the new things that they've added, EA Sports, whatever it is.
Did you see the contest they're running? They're doing like a golden ticket case. And the winner gets a turkey baster full of the old man's jizz, so they could just create another NHL. Yeah,
Wow.
It's like $100 million win right there.
He's like, bend over, honey.
Well, they get the turkey baster.
I thought the coolest thing about that, going back to the parents, is they in that picture, there's two empty stalls, and one of the stalls says the dad's name, and the other stall says the mom's name.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's where they're going to do it.
Yeah,
that's where they'll impregnate the. Yeah, that's awesome. That's pretty cool.
No, it's great.
Like you get a video game Sports. And then you get a couple NHL kids coming out of your wife's vagina a few months later. Yeah, that's amazing.
So EA is just so innovative and a great contest. They're doing that for the Hughes family and boys. Yeah, that's
EA Sports.
EA.
Oh, another thing. Were you guys Oasis fans? They're coming back together. I mean, just an amazing story, I guess, of two brothers who truly despised one another. I mean, like, we're talking hatred. Like, this is like Hamas Israel type shit. Like, everyone said they would never ever reunite. And I'm guessing that they see the money. They had to have seen the money signs. Because, Biz, I remember Jeff mentioned to us once, like, what they've been offered to just tour again together. And the news broke today.
Each of them, I think, is probably worth well over $100 million. So no need for them to have to ever work another day in their life, especially with how stubborn both of them are. I don't know who spited the one and how the whole feud began. But like you said, they must be saying Taylor Swift touring, Zach Bryan, Morgan Wallen, and seeing the fact that they're getting paid like $2-3 million a night per show. And in Taylor Swift's case with the merchandise, she's probably making 10, 15, 20 per show. I mean, Yans would know because he's going with his girls because they run his show. But I want to say,
Taylor Swift.
I think that they've already fully sold out 80,000 seat stadium for 10 to 12 shows like that. So right away, they're going to make 20, 30 million pop for a couple weeks worth of work. So I love Oasis. The bangers are incredible. Like, I feel like a lot of people online think that they're one of the more overrated bands of all time, but they put out 2 great albums and shut her down. Like, they didn't release a ton of bullshit. So, all those Gen Z wankers can fuck off, and Oasis rocks.
I heard the Pardon My Take guys talking about it, and they were saying that, like, this tour might last one day.
Yeah.
Like, they said as soon as they have to get on an airplane, it might be over. They were like, if they can take separate cars, it might be all right. But if they're on the same airplane together, it's done.
And
like, this could be like a murder on stage. Like, you're like the one brother who's really hates the one maybe more. He's like, I'll get back together with you, then I'll fucking shoot you in the head right in front of the London Derby or whatever.
Like, come
who
on
knows how this plays out.
Like Carrie at the prom.
But people talk about Wonderwall. I mean, I'm more like the Champagne Supernova. Like,
oh yeah.
How many special people change? How many lives are living strange? Where were you while we were getting high? So,
hey, you know who sings that song? Unbelievable is Mark Goonan, the kid who was singing the other night.
Oh, that kid. This guy, Biz, was singing Bob Marley, and if you shut your eyes, you would have believed you were sitting on a beach in Jamaica and Bob Marley came back to life and was sitting there singing as you drank a Red Stripe. I couldn't believe it. I'm talking where we had 6 guys at one end of the table and then the 6 wives were at the other end of the table, and everyone out there, every guy listening knows that is the best thing in the world. When you go for a big couples dinner and then it's just the guys on one side and the girls on the other, it's like a guy's dinner. It's incredible. Yeah. Well, even the girls in the midst of their spilling tea and talking and hanging out, they stopped and looked and thought Bob Marley was sitting there singing to us. It was incredible. And I believe he works for a school. Is he a teacher?
Wong Guan?
No, he's in the sanitation.
Sanitation.
White guy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Irish, right off the boat. His mom's off the boat from Ireland.
I'm going to get him to send me a recording, and then we're going to put it in the pod, I think. Like, it's that good.
Can he make us an intro song? Like a Spittin Chiclets intro song that sounds like Bob Marley, but it's a special Spittin Chiclets version, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that, Biz. That'll just chill everyone out on Tuesday mornings. Yeah. Another thing I'd written down is in a different sport, but
can I go back to the dinner? What did the guys talk about at a dinner like that compared to the girls? Like the girls are just gossiping about what?
Yeah, no, they're just like shooting the shit about like different things and like who knows because we're not listening. But the guys, we're just telling all the same stories that we tell to each other every time we get together. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I was telling a story about a kid I played at BU with, this kid David Klima. I believe he was drafted by the Phoenix Coyotes. He's from Roseville, Minnesota. Incredible player, Biz.
I know the name.
Big, could skate, unreal hands, vision. I wouldn't say his dedication was at the highest level. And I remember at one point, Jack Parker, legendary coach of BU hockey, the kid was out injured. And like we're doing like battle drills down low and the whistle blows. And he's like, Klima. And I'm like, Klima? I thought he was injured. And we look over the bench. He's throwing a football to himself, like throwing it up in the air and like running and catching it. And I was just like, what the fuck's Klima doing? Another time, he totally missed a meeting. We had a video meeting in which the coach is with the lights off carving him for a back check. He's like, what the fuck are you thinking here, Klima? And this kid, Justin Meiser's like, sorry about that, coach. And just unbelievable cover job by an all-time teammate, Meisdog. And we go back to the dorm like, Klima, we fly into the room. He looks at us. Where you guys been, boys? I'm like, we had a meeting. He was playing Snood. He became addicted to the game Snood. You remember that game, Biz?
Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
So we were just telling old stories. I guarantee 90% of the stories we told each other, and it was about a 3-4 hour dinner. We put in a shift.
Yeah.
We've heard all of them.
Play the hits
numerous times.
Yeah.
Play the hits, baby.
Times.
It was like an Oasis reunion tour.
Without a murder.
Speaking of singers, remember we went to that one restaurant in Florida where I tried to do the story justice where I'm like, this guy's incredible. I was dancing and vibing the entire dinner. I go, I bet you these people love this guy. And Yan's like, I bet they hate his guts. And I'm like, what? I'm like, this guy's incredible up there. Like business. They have to listen to this guy every single day. But this guy was up there owning it like he was the biggest celebrity on the planet. Yeah. So we were calling over every server and worker in the restaurants and every person. I was like, hey, you guys must love this guy. And Yans was teeing it up. And he's like, what do you actually think of this guy? And they're like, we despise this guy.
And he's big wheeling them all too.
He's big timing them?
Oh, yeah. He thought he was Ricky Martin.
He's a star.
It was so bad.
What was we got to go back there, man. That's my favorite joint.
It was great.
Oh, and then I called your buddy the wrong name, so now they call him that name. What did I call him?
You called him Jason.
And what's his name?
Jeff.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not too bad.
Hey, you had the J right.
No.
So other sport news, just quickly, like I always talked about how McDavid was better at his sport than anyone else was at their sport in the world. I take it back now. This Shohei Ohtani is like, I'm tuning into late night Dodgers games to watch this guy. He became the 6th player in Major League Baseball history to have 40 stolen bases and 40 home runs in a season the other night. He hit a walk-off grand slam to get his 40th home run. He's about 6'4", 6'5". He's like, the fact he has 40 stolen bases and he's that fast, that big, not to mention, Biz, as everyone knows, he pitches, but he had, I think, Tommy John or something where he's not pitching this year. But I think he is the greatest at his sport on the planet right now. Like, it is must-watch TV watching him, and the contract he got, and then the fact that, like, the whole gambling thing with his handler, like, he 100% had something to do with that, and the league's like, no, this one's going away.
It'd be like McDavid playing goalie some nights, like the way that he's a batter, and the fact that he is a player and a pitcher is insane.
But also like one of the league's best pitchers too, right? He's an
Yes.
it would be like him being Swayman. It'd be like McDavid being Swayman in his fucking off nights.
Yeah.
Just like, I'll go in between the pipes tonight. Now
he also has the chance to become the first ever 50-50 guy. So that could happen before the end of the season. Nobody's ever had 50 stolen bases and 50 dingers in a year.
I just think it's crazy that he's able to completely eliminate all the distractions of the fact that he was involved in an illegal gambling ring and then go back to just producing the way that he was before the injury. And another thing too, since we're mentioning the home runs, you got to talk about Aaron Judge. He's got 10 more of them, and he's at this rapid pace where, I mean, he's worth every cent too. And just a stallion, just a beast.
He's a monster.
Megatron.
So that's pretty much it. We had the Sandbagger come out too. I know I talked about the YouTube channel at the beginning of the pod.
Those guys were normal.
Yeah, those guys were. What'd you think of the bagger?
I thought it was entertaining, but oh my God, the lingo was insane.
Yeah, the left
it was like an OHL locker room.
The one clip of all the puns put together, I was like, oh my God, like, because we didn't even hear half of them. They're in their cart. It was a very I would say mixed reaction. Like I ran into a guy today at Pure Hockey who was raving about it. He worked there. He actually said hi to Wyatt first. And I was like, he's like, oh, I was his counselor at camp. I was like, how was he? He's like, menace. I said, okay, well, that's standard. And then the guy at the end was like, unbelievable sandbagger. And then there were people that Heat Daddy pisses off, and Heat Daddy's he's one of those guys, right? He gets a reaction out of you, whether positive or negative. He's a polarizing figure.
I've never seen any of their stuff. I didn't know who they were. I mean, they were. It would have been hilarious if Daniel Cormier threw him in a chokehold or something. But that was pretty funny. How some UFC guys were out there just playing while you guys were playing.
And they wanted to go us. They wanted to play us. I think they mentioned so. Biz, maybe we get a UFC bagger in the books. I don't know.
Oh yeah, and then our fans will be all over us again. Why don't you get hockey players?
Huh? Yeah, hockey players are busy. It's not like we're not trying. Why doesn't every fan listening send Spittin Chiclets at barstoolsports.com or Gurnell at barstoolsports.com who you want us to play in a sandbagger, okay? Because you're bitching and whining. We're trying. We're trying our hardest. There are many people with many plans throughout the summer. It's not easy, but we're trying. Lay off me.
Not to mention in the NHL, like all your weekends are guys that you play with weddings.
I know.
When you're in the NHL and like you're at that age of guys getting married, like your summers are so condensed. Like it's tough to get guys out there. Do older guys then maybe. I don't know.
I think we might have a few older guys in London, Ontario. We're going to get one there. There's rumblings that Darcy Tucker might be in the mix. That would be a fun one. Prust is in London. Robbie Shrimp. So that would be another guy. So, but folks, Jans, it was great having you on board. Smooth as butter. We love having you. Your humor. So we appreciate you joining us in the Boston pod today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always
We're
a pleasure.
hoping for maybe a monthly. Maybe guest appearance by Keith this season. You know, we're talking about having some reoccurring guests in a certain way. So Keith's the best. We thank you so much, bud. We loved having you on, and this was a really fun show. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed us three kind of talking nonsense along with Charlie Coyle, the professional he is. I hope everyone has a phenomenal week. Biz has one more thing for you.
The last thing is it's going to be a week off next week for Whit. I'm going to hop on and just direct traffic a little bit. It's going to be a best of summer. We had a lot of amazing interviews.
I can hop on with you, buddy. I can hop on.
Hey, well, fucking there you go. I shot you a text. I didn't know whether you wanted it off to enjoy your final week with family before the chaos ensues, but I will see you on Wednesday. We'll get the pre-recording done out, and you guys will get a best of next week, and it'll be great. For all you people who took a little bit of time off, it'll just be a little synopsis of all the amazing stories that we capture with our awesome guests all summer long, and then it's off and running with the seasonal divisional breakdowns, baby.
All right. Keith, love you. Biz, love you.
Boys.
Everyone, peace.
Go Dogs.